to bring down a lekus down to the matter. Zeh hu zeh v'zeh kol ha'odom. The Mela, the Yom Huledus is the second that neshama starts working in the guf. That's the second where we had the schus that the Rebbe says the Friedige Rebbe, the other schus where he had the shaykhis to us, that it came down to us, and we can be the kisharim Mela when we have a shaykhis to him. So Yom Huledus of Yud Aleph Nissan is that moment that the Rebbe gave us the schus. And there are no oisius that could ever describe, no oisius that could ever describe what the Hanaga of the Rebbe, the Messias of the Rebbe, changed the world that never was Mimois Olam, such a concept of Iberwachen a Welt von den zwischen Gedeile Olam geönem, but the Rebbe the Chadash gewinnen Teire, sein eigenartige way of learning Teda, and the Indian of Tshuva, of Makarev Zan Yedin Yidin, and looking at every Yid. We'll talk more barichas about the Rebbe. But this is the day that it all started, Yud Aleph Nissan, that the Neshama came down to us, that we could have a shaykhis, and this Pashtusa de Moshe that gives us this Ashreinu Matoiv Chalkeinu, Umanoim Goyruleinu, that we have a shaykhis, to learn the Chaya, to this Pashtusa de Moshe, in our day, when the Sidarein. L'chaim. I'll start with the Maimer of Yem Ashte Yosser Yem. Of course, now I'm going to chazar the Maimer. But the Nekuda of the Maimer, as we all know, the Rebbe brings the Medrash of Chelki Avaya Amra Nafshi, in the Moshel, that the Melech came with his Duchsin and Ifrichin and his Terulutitin, and every person made a kesher. Some made a kesher with the Duchsin, and one made a kesher, which means the Pashut Pshat. It means that the Melech came with all kinds of ministers, and people clung and got close to many ministers. Some to this type of minister, some to greater ministers. Till it came a pikach echot, one pikach came, and he said, all of them are mischalfim, all of them are being changed every day. The president kicks them all out. He chooses new ones. But HaMelech ain't a mischalef. The Melech is not mischalef. So Ano Nosiv Malka, I am the one who take the Melech himself. And we should know that I think it's more than possible to say, every chassid knows this, that the same way the Rebbe Tavegestellt, Besamris, Yeseides, Gedolos, Yud Shvat, the Rebbe Tavegestellt, and the Rebbe said that in America there is a mission statement, and the Rebbe said clearly this is Deir Ashri, and our mission is Oisefir and Dire Betachtoinen, the Basir Legani, and the whole Arichas, what everybody knows what Yud Shvat means to the Rebbe, of taking over the Mamala Mekoimed in the Siyas, and this started Deir Ashvi, which has to bring it down Lamata, the Rebbe's Koch of Mashiach, Kol Yemei Chaya, from the first second of his life until ever. And so too, I think it's equally self-understood that Yom Ashte Aser Yom, the Rebbe's Maimer Yom Ashte Aser Yom, is equally a Yisayt Shebe Yisaydis for the Rebbe's Lebnis. There are no Nosiv Malka. The Rebbe's Leben is a non-nosiv malka, that he has no shaykhis to Ginyone Giluyim. Is in every nekuda is was will the Rebbeishter allein atzmusoi and husoi yisbarach. I'll tell you a story. It's not printed in any place, but I told it over to many people. And when I came to Lubavitch, I had many kashas, self-understood. And that has also to do with this Maimer, Poshet. Because he comes from a world which has unbelievable Geluyim. And Geschmacke Geluyim. Yeah? The Geschmacke Geluyim, jeden Davonen mit a Koch, mit a Brev, man singt Zmires, mit Nigunem. And there's a Reichkeit, and they have the Mahadere Mitzvahs and Stocke V'Chesed, and Yonam. And then mit a Moleb, no Nosel Malke, and you see no Geluyim, and you see a Pesatza. So I remember I was sitting with the Rebbe Yoel, For hours and hours. Privately, I was a younger man, for 20 years old. And he had Hillel's Gedult, and he talked to me all the kashas I had, Tziyanas, and this, and that, Alingen. So one of the kashas, so Erbiel was Masbing, was Heistar Rebbe. The way Erbiel knows how to explain, was Heistar Rebbe. Yeah. Please. Told over one of the stories. I think they have it in his Bichel. Told that Rebbe Eisel Hamler, he says he heard it from Duchman, he heard it from his Zayder Matchiyoel, that he heard it, that he was still a Makabel from Rebbe Eisel. So he said that Rebbe Eisel once came into Shul, Eezi Knosei, and they saw that he's very depressed. And they started to ask him, what's going on? He said, my elder years, and I don't know, but what am I coming to Elam Haba? So what am I coming to Elam Haba? So a few minutes later, they realized that he went out of his depression, and he became Sazva Sameach, and they gelegt, Anaya Bria. So they asked him what happened, what changed. So he said that he reminded himself that he was once seeing the Alter Rebbe learning a Sefer, a Gemara, and it was torn papers. It was shame. There was tzedis and a blätter. And one paper, one shame, fell on the floor. And I bent down and I picked it up and I put it back to the Alter Rebbe to learn. He says, it's the now I have with what to come to Elam Haba. So it's like, imagine, tell us such a story to us now. Imagine, he says, tell such a story to him. He says, Abayz Lamer was a goy noy. A maskul chsidus, an oivei. He had miles. He was a shaila with what he comes to Elam Haba. But he couldn't find anything himself. Was al sein emes, was a shayches zanon nosiv malke be'emes. I have shayches to geluim, meire dike miles and miles. Aber was hab ich getan amal, der hat a shayches. Moshe Rabbeinu says, if I had the kesher to say that I understood that word, no, I didn't. Absolutely not. You have to learn a lot of chassidus, and so drehen a sacht, Farbrengen, and dafke beim Reben, zu hören beim Wort. I once heard from Shlomo Bluming. He said that we see these kashas that were zeichen deira shvi, lav dafke friedige deiris had that. Even though this is a meise in a Beisel Hamlet, he says, this network of Ingelite going out and shlichus, giving up everything, mashli chayev ben neged, the mishpocha and everything. And bechlal, these kashas are what some Rebbe. So he says, it's my eigene gedanke, but he says, that's what I feel. He said, every Rebbe that we had was either a zun or an Eden. It's either a son or a son-in-law. The middle Rebbe was a son, the Tzedek was Sai and Einiku, Sai a son-in-law. He says, Fort Mishpacha is Fort Mishpacha. And to be a Makabel Pnimi Mekusher Beleven Nefesh übergegeben as a Evet in Ganz is Masrus. He says, the Rebbe was, so all the Rebbes, he said, or Shama Klolis, but a Rebbe is, and Shama Datzilis, alle heiligsten Yonim. But they taught us how to be a Rebbe. They never taught us how to be a Chassid. It says, unser Rebbe is the first time we had a Rebbe who taught us how to be a Chassid. The kashas of the Rebbe to the Friedige Rebbe, the Bittel, the Rebbe said a word wegen Friedige Rebbe, und wegen a Sippur der Friedige Rebbe, said a line, a diuk, in a Sippur, in a halbe word of what the Friedige Rebbe said, the Rebbe taught us how really, really to be Chassid. So B'meila, so coming back to the story, so Rabbi Eisel Hamler said, as was ein Keshet in Olam Haba, but sein as was la'achre alle Giluyim alle Meines. So Avot was daf a beer, and actually b'danach. So I asked the Rebbe Yoel then, after he was talking about the Rebbe, I asked him, Okay. I hear what you're saying about the Rebbe's and the Shama Klolis. A Rebbe's not a teacher. A Rebbe's not a Meire Derech or a Shiva that teaches you and we follow in his drachim. That's also honest. Of course, that's also true. But a Rebbe is Makasha Nafshe, is a Noichi Oimek Bein Hashem and Bein Eichem. Is Makasha Nafshe L'Hashem. It's an andere Sache in Ganz. You know, I was once sitting by a bar mitzvah. A Heichel Menachem person made a bar mitzvah. And so I came in, I said, Mazel Tov, and he asked me to say a few words. So I said a few words, and then I wished the parents, the bar mitzvah bacher, Leben should help, who's wachsen Achosses, für Shemaim and Alamden, and so geben die Eltern in dem Reben Masach Nachas. And then I was bafallen. People came over to me and said, what are you talking about? You guys won't even understand the kasha. Thank you Hashem for that. I said, what was the problem? What did I say wrong? I said, Kfir Epes was. He said, Nachas geht man für a Tate Mama. Efter für a Nebisch. For a Rebbe, was heißt geben Nachas for a Rebbe? A Rebbe you follow. You walk in his ways. Netzach Salavot. Hoylech Bedracho. You know, about Musa, you don't give him Nachas. You walk in his, you follow what his directives. So it took me a few lechaims and a little while to start to explain to them, as was, that you're right. The way you look at the Rebbe, you're 100% right. To a Magid Shir, you don't give Nachas. Nachas is a special word. You can't use a shop title of English also. There's not happiness. It's something that a mother and father have from a child. It's called Nachas. There's no other, you know. A Magid Shir, you know, get satisfaction. Get the Meidike Svias Rotzen for what it are eingelegt in the Arbeit. Nachas is meant Chsida mit Rebbe is ein Metzies, is ein Neshama. Also wie a Mame noch mehr. Bebeile Shaykh the Nach. So Bekitzer, I asked Rabbi Yoel, so I had an explanation, alle gute Sachen. So how do you know who a Rebbe is? So how do you know? I was a beginner, I wasn't the Lubavitcher, I had the chutzpah, and I had the right to have that chutzpah. So who decides who a Rebbe is? If he's a son, no, B'meile steht in Shulchan Hassan is the first to be normal Mekoyim if he's Roi. Okay, so it's a Neshama, the Rebbe, the Gebäude nach Kind, muss sein, es ist, you know. Aber, it's not a son, you know, who's the one who decides who's a Rebbe? I couldn't ask it over here, but I was 20 years old, so forgive me. I just stepped off the bus 44 from Lee Avenue, walked into Crown Heights to the Yoel. I lost my hat at the time because the guy stuck his hand into the bus and stole my hat. I had to come home and tell my Rebbe, I didn't say mice and the ganze story. They didn't know I went to Crown Heights. I didn't say mice again. So I walked in with this cash. No. So I asked the Yoel to make it easier for him. I said, so maybe a person who shows mafsam. Rabbi told me, can it sagen, as a moifus is not a raya. Because we can't say that a moifus is not a proof on a Rebbe. Sof kol sof, it shows that he's a hechere mensch. He's not a regular, he's a person above, you're cut above the rest. So, it's a stickeler raya, he says, but it's a billige raya. It's a very cheap raya. Very cheap. So I asked him, so what is a rai? What is a rai? The girl was thinking and talking. Finally, I pushed him to the corner. You know, you were Machel. It was you and you were. How do you know who's a Rebbe? So the girl told me like this. He says, and that's a kesher to Yidalav, to the Maimer of Anon Nasser. He says, the Rabbeim of all the Dedas spoke very little Baratzis. You'll go through the Maimorim, Man redt wegen alle Geluyim, man redt wegen Heche von Azilis, und der Meile in Arich, und Atik, und man redt von der Reische, die Leuslat, die Leusjad, alle heilige, tiefe in Jana. Atzmusay Mahusay is very little, and whenever they did, the table trembled. The table trembled if they spoke about Atzilus. The Alter Rebbe couldn't even write Atzilus for them. He says, the early years, the Farbrengen were upstairs, and if you see the pictures of Rabbi Yoel sitting, or the Rebbe was sitting there, Rabbi Yoel sits over here, the left side to the Rebbe. He says, the early years, there was a small crowd. It was we were sitting everybody mamish in front of the Rebbe, and my seat was right facing the Rebbe. And I started to see mamish the first year that the Rebbe started saying Mamorim, and the Rebbe started koching in Atzmus. Atzmus is the Rebbe singing from beginning to end. And it bothered me. He told me. Rabbi and the table was trembling. The Rebbe never spoke with the spilers, b'derech klal. And if he had to cry, he held it back, nobody should hear, swallowed it, and the Rebbe tried to talk, he bepashtas. Everything was, So he said it bothered me until one day I realized I watched the Rebbe and I saw anytime the Rebbe spoke about Atzmus, that's the girl's words. It's not written any place and I didn't think anybody could go and verify it. It's not here. But that's what he told me. He says whenever those few, I don't know, later on, basically, those first few times, he says when anytime the Rebbe spoke about Atzmus, aber gesehen zwei Schnierlichten Tränen was running down his face. Without klippen, without making any motions, without, just very, seemingly very calm, very put together, complacent, but so gegossen Tränen. He says, to me, that was a shtickele raya for them. That to me was a shtickele raya for them. But Matracht Aron, he wasn't so off. Ich weiß nicht a raya for Rebbe, a raya of unser Rebbe. Because unser Rebbe is kol kuloi, also wie Yud Shvati gewinnt Deira Shvi, the mission statement, as with Rano, Nosiv, Malke, in dem Rebbe, every prat von Rebbe. Aber soll durchgehen alle Unionen von Rebbe. Es hat sich nicht gelegt bei der Welt, nobody was able to be a maven. It was... Like the Rebbe's koch, always to dinner the Meibishter without a calf. Would you know a chassidus that doesn't have a calf? Walk into Vishnitz, they have a calf. When I reiche geschmack, they kochen Shabbos. Walk into Nishmas, the walls are trembling. Nishmas kocham, or when they say go al Yisrael. Yeah, anyone knows that imitated over here? The whole, and the Metzias is that the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Hergel Nase Teva Sheni, if you koch in an Inyan, and if you koch in a certain Inyan, the Metzias is, as was, that becomes your Metzias, people kochen that, and then somebody dike Meile, Shune dike Meile. And the Rebbe's koch was that if you develop a calf, and that's your only calf, this is do. Could be not your gashmias, not your klipper, not your klippers neige. Maybe it's your nefesh, it's Haley, but it's a calf, it does nicht das. It does ausgestellt in a gewisse calf. Am Rebbe gewähnt ist die ganze Woche, I never saw such a Beziehung on the world. A ganze Woche soll a Bocher kochen, and like you see over here, that Rabbi Gerari hat weggestellt, dass Chef Schmeitels darf sein da. Und der Rebbe gekocht, als Bocher soll sein, Bocki in der Kiweges, und jeder Chidoi da, der Verhandlung. Und sitzen und lernen heute, wenn a ganze Woche, Poshet of every other Rishonim und Achreinim, dem Ramschiff und Pnei Yeshua, and then Mittamal kommt Freitag, you switch, boom! Now we go out and we're going to talk to old ladies in nursing homes, and we're going to give over neshek to Vezos to Inge Medelach, and then we're going to go and gain off a mitzvah tank, being busy Chanukah building of mitzvah tank, Chanukah you know, and then coming back 15 minutes before Shkia, and I have my mikveh, and this is Shabbos Kodesh. Und verlangen als Bocher im Tmime, mit dem Geleit auf Schereiche, Davon und Barichus und Shabbos. After a ganzen Freitag in Luft. Und dahin und zurück. Was? Because in Atzmus, there no kavim. Shove in Mash v'kotel v'godim and anon nosev malke ifrichin and duchsin have kavim. Ist der Lututen have kavim. Das ist Azaminister, das Azilis und das ist Brie und das ist Adam Kadmen und das ist Ak und das ist Arich. Atzmus ist der Emes Hawaii, Eulam der Emes La Mitoi, mit des Emotsen nimmt zu Kola nimmt zu ihm. Alle Kavim, alle Jonen, alle. Und der Emes kocht zu sein, das, Dovid und der. Und wir wollen Onkashes and on. So the Anon Nosev Malke is what the Rebbe gave us in our blood, the Yerusha. Does that mean we shouldn't have any Giluim? Does that mean that we shouldn't koch in any Giluim? L'chaim. The Rebbe goes through the Maimer steps, dargis. It starts off that Lachoyre Poshet Pshat of this Duchsen and Ifrichen and Ustereletutin, the Pashtas. It goes in Oidik Chavim and Mazolos that they serve idols. They serve the sun and the moon. And the Rebbe says that there are two dargis. Either they think that they're Bala Bechira, they're like a mayor in the city who's given authority and he could run things. So it pays to get close to the mayor because now you can get what you need. Or according to the bigger Avodah Zarah that Chaz v'Shalom Ozav Hashem Ha'aretz, and they became the full autonomy, they could do whatever on their own, whatever. But that's a Pashut Pshat, says the Rebbe, what mashma given. In Vosa the Pshat, the Pikach Echad, why is it you need a Pikach to understand this? Because it takes a Pikach. If you look at the world, what does the world look like? As it looks like, yes, vitamin D comes from the sun. And photosynthesis comes from the sun. It grows from the sun. Yeah? That's how it looks like. In the Mele, you need a Pikach Echad to understand as a be'emes sheker, it's in the Shmer v'yagarzen b'yad ha'chaytzev, when the Rebishter runs every little thing through them. Yes? Through vitamin D, through photosynthesis, through science, through everything. That the Rebishter makes it happen every second mamish. Yeah, mahava, machaya, b'chol rege v'rege mamish. So it takes a pikach to understand that. That's the havamin of the mind. Then the Rebbe says it doesn't make any sense. Why not? Why doesn't it make any sense? Says the Rebbe, because in the Moshel they talk about Bechira. In the Moshel, the ministers are Be'emes Bala Bechira, and they talk. There is taka and Inyan to become close to the ministers more than to become close to the Melech. Let me ask you something. If somebody would have over here an opportunity to get yourself one of the people in your pocket, as they call, you know, with some money or whatever or other ways, who would you get rather involved with? Would you get close to President Trump, or to Governor Hochul, or as he says to the building inspector, or to Michael Spector? Which one?
1 second, Rabbi Ganz.
Yeah.
There's a meeting Kavua at 9:15 every night, and I see some people came, so there's going to be a million outside in the kitchen.
Yeah, so the Mele sagt der Rebbe, a Moshel in Teire, das ein Emes. In the Moshel we realize as was, that the Emes, there is a Meile in all these Duchsen. Yes, they're not a Melech, but if what I need, my needs, they might be better than being close to the Melech. Says the Rebbe is a raya from this, that here comes the Rebbe's Knech. It's a raya from this, as was, that the reason, the Pikach Echad is what? That everybody else is interested in his Ashpah. Interested in their Ashpah. Masha Inkain, whatever they could get, and people could get Ashpahs from Lumazeh as well, from Klippas Neige, and Adarab and Oitlecherik Bereishis, it says many times. But Pikach Echad is the one who's a Nishne Geya Zayin Ashpah. Ados is the Rebbe, there are no Nasir Malke, so Nishne Geya Mein Ashpah, and I'll have a beautiful lavish home, and I'll be verschickt, gewesen wo ein Schlichus someplace, or my Schlichus is here, whatever it is. Der mein Ingen is ich ton, ich darf sein bottle. And the Rebbe's Masber is Bariches, how to get from Klippa, you don't need to be bottled, Shem HaZeir. Ma'ashenke to get from Atzmus and Mehusa, you need bittel, and they don't want that. In Pikach Echad versteht das zumindest, I remember a story, Lo Yamed Rishikir Ela Maisa. My father, Olav Shalom, lived in Williamsburg, and the elder years he wasn't well, so he had to daven. He lived in a project building, So there was a Yita Gvir, and again, it's at Gilui Matzadi Gomer. She gave away his apartment every Shabbos, literally. I don't know if you know how the project looks like. You walk into the dining room. After that, you walk into the kitchen, into the bedrooms. But you're opening the doors into the dining room. The dining room became a shul. It's already going on for 25 years. Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, every Shabbos. His wife is locked up in the bedroom. She can't come and out, there's a million davening there. Locked up in the bed. Either she's out or she's in. And every week, partially because there's a few elderly people in the building who cannot walk, and cannot go to shul. Mamash, a tzaddik v'nayit. A tzaddik v'nayit. Gives himself over for other Yid. Babas. A Maisa Shehoya. So I went to visit my father once. So I davened in that shul upstairs. So Maisa Shehoya, his son, this the Balabas, his son opened a new business and he moved to Lakewood. So he gave a big kiddush that Shabbos. We covered Tzeischem L'Shalom for his son. He's going to Lakewood. Over there, in this shul, that Ingerman, a Chassidish Ingerman, it's a Satmar Ingerman, but it's really a Breslover. Molle v'Godish Chassidus. Ois gekocht Chassidus. Das ist Herr Weinstock gestern. Verkauft zwar lichte Chassidus. He went to the Rebbe many times. The Farbrengen. So he is the Shein Ridium gesagt. Der verbringt, Shabbos the Kiddush. So by the Kiddush, he asked him, sag ein paar Werte. Gib a Brocha, mein Sohn. So he started giving him brochas. The Rebbe soll helfen, you go in kein Lakewood. Ruhig mal mit Zutzes von da. Übermachen, alle Jiden machen von Chassidim. Reinbringen a Ruach Chassidus. For 20 minutes he was giving him brochas. Finally his father platzt. He says, Yosef Hersh, that get should give him a brocha. Get a brocha! So hat gegossen noch mehr. So sein gewesen. Das haben mit Talmiden und alle sollen lernen Chassidus. So finally, the father platzt. So ich warte von der brocha. Also Mama also die Bolle hat gesagt, Fabilla. In der achte Borg, was geht da vor? So finally I told them, as I say for Atomim, actually I lived through this Maisa. I found it later in Sefer Atomim, but I lived through the Maisa before Mama. It happened to us in the middle of Wechter, and he started to have a Sheikhs Chassidus. So he had Bocharim and Yungelite would come once a week from Crown Heights and drop off the Lekutei Sichos and the Yitzchak Zaltzman and others would come and give over, bring stuff. So I remember Mendel was standing there, so in Erev Rosh Hashanah. They brought a whole kavitz for Rosh Hashanah to say it's in the Tshuva. So Mendel gave him brachas. It was from a Shanu Tovim Sukkah. I gebencht die big little girls zu sein. Ksiva vachsima Tovim mit gezind Panos und Nachas. Und alle Kinder einiglich gesund reden. Haben sie einfach mit Bekulam Reviche. Also ja, man kann gehen mal brach, wir haben geht am brach. And this Bocher answered him back, oh man, good gebencht. Ja, der Rebbe laufen muss Leute finden, kann man again. I remember the Mendel was like, he almost fell off his chair. Naya der Herr. So in Sefer Atomim stayed the Meister. There was a Bocher who came from Snagdish Yeshiva, whatever, and or from maybe another Chassidish Yeshiva, and he rode back home. As er led nach Yeshiva, as der Herr kam von Naya Wort, auf Rosh Hashanah wünscht man sich, und der Rebbe soll helfen, man soll ausführen, die Kabbalah gehen. Sag was er. Der Herr, die alle Brachen. So, I saw this father is so lost and he's waiting for the bracha, so I said L'chaim, and I told the story. And everybody was, wow, it's all about Shemaisi kriegt da rein in die Kishkes. People haben der Herr. Ich finde, da kann man alle jenen. All about Shemaisi das. Hat etwas. So finally everybody was quiet and wo steht der Wort, wo ist das Gehör, wo ist gesagt, sie gewähren mir die. Finally, this father, Dovid, sagte, herrlich Wort, Aber die Brüche ist das die Game Label aus der Falabavitsch. Von meinen sie im Windschuhen, soll ein paar Nüsse bereiben. Windschuhen, soll kein Teil in der Business, soll ein paar Nüsse bereiben. I don't blame him. So Taka mal Licht Leben in paar Nüsse bereiben. Ja. Aber der Rebbe hat uns herausgezogen von der Welt. Also wie steht, weil Jöitze Öse ja gut so wie Abraham, wie nur Hecher von Kechavim und Mazoles, Hecher von Azilis, Hecher von allen Jahren. Und der Rebbe bringt heraus eine Meimer, das ist eine Kude. Nicht, aber ich denke, Kechavim und Mazoles, wo das ist so teuer, das was, der Natkigas wie der Geitze. Like they could do something on their own, and that's the kfira, that's the problem. And the Pikach takes something as was. Nein, versteht, dass gegangen ist, nur der Ewigste vier. Nein. Nicht das. I was there, without the Pikach, you're looking for a spar. And Duchsin could give you much better. And Estretalutut could give you even better. Aber Ano, Nosiv, Malka, das ist Pnimius Shubamakif. Und wir, Lavdavke, das ist Osid Lovo, Laeis, Osid, das ist das Galle, der Pnimius, der Schwedisch. The Schwedish from Pnimius, which is the Pnimius Amakiv, then it will be, and like the Rebbe has everything in Gemara. It's unbelievable, the Rebbe. It's unbelievable, the Rebbe touched. It's noch a ganze Schmuz, der Rebbe finds the Pnimis in a Stickel in Gemara, it's klar auf dem Tisch. Like the Rebbe waft an a halbe word. It's a one-liner. The Rebbe throws in one word, which is, als Bekiv hat gesagt, Ma, lo iver Ritzoinikach, Kolschken, Weißer Ritzoinik. Why? Allah is Kama V'Kama. It's not true. It's the opposite. Those, the Alter Rebbe says clearly, those are makabel from Klippe and other Rabbi Neutlich Biros. They become an so Kolschken lo Oyster Ritzoinik, no, Oyster Ritzoinik, davon haben Bittel, davon ankommen zu Arzt mit dem Haus. Und dort ist noch, es ist eine andere Welt. Der Rebbe sagt, ja, das ist jetzt. Der Rebbe teitscht so ist die Gemara, es ist eine Gemara. Maadich lo Oyster Ritzoinik, Kolschken lo Oyster Ritzoinik. Aber es ist das Galaver, Pnimius Amaki, that's the Sherish of Pnimius. Now, Bechitzoinius Makif takes much more. Sheine Negune, in Sheine Binyone, in a Geschmack. Ich rede von a Geschmack in Avodas Hashem. I'm not talking the Eshtelf Maimer, that was just a Havamina. Aber die Kchavim Mazalas, the Rebbe was Mavatl right away. That's not what we're talking. We're talking Giluyim. We're talking Atzilas. Emse Giluyim, aber a Yid, was hat a Kesher zu Reben, sucht dem Eibischen allein. Der Rebbe geht gleich zum alten Rebbe, als der alte Rebbe sagt, ich will nicht dein Ganeden, Helgen, Ganeden, Atachten, Ganeden, Helgen, das mehr nicht wie dir allein. Der Rebbe gleich stellt das gleich zu, als zu dem Ingen. Das was. Der Anon Nosser Malke that's the Rebbe saying. Be'emes, if you think of it, very interesting. When I started to learn Chassidus, I'm ashamed to tell you, but that's the Emes. I had a huge problem. So before I said I had a problem with Lubavitch, that I went to the, with Siyenis and with Beis Kashas and Chulu, the Rebbe. But I had a problem with Chassidus. Before I learned, I'm talking Chassidus Chabad, Bariches, learning Chassidus. I learned Svarim Akdesha, heilige Svarim. Aber darf man von Nebischen, darf man haben wie hier. Let's face it, take every Yid, maybe including Chassidim, whatever, or a klein kind. Sof Kosof, even though it says a Rambam is Einu Guf, Einu Demusa Guf, and Einu Dimin Klal, his Pshitas, Sof Kosof, wie stellt man sich vor? Als da Melech Godel V'Neiro, Eimet Al Gava. Mina Havai and Nitzav Olof, How does a human being mitzvah such a thing? As v'hinei, so somebody's standing next to me. So he's not gashmi, he's ruchni, so he's not he's pshitas, whatever. There's somebody standing next to me and watching me. Maybe to learn chassidus. But every maimer in Likutei Torah hebt sich an heute allein Shemayim. Also nicht mehr wie a ziva hora. It's bottled with tachlis. It's the yesh, the emissary yesh, the ayin or amiti, you know. So the kitzer, all of a sudden, at the end of the day, I'm learning chassidus. Heißt das atzmusay mehusay is ayin or amiti that have no words. I can't describe it. I can't point a finger to it. And it has no mokim. Adarabba ha'olam hu mekoyme ve'ein hu mekoyme shaloylam. And everything, and you get lost. You mean, as ich habe eine besteht leben mir and watches me. Yeah? I have a mother who's standing, hugging me, loving me, helping me, and I reciprocate. And mit amol, nicht allein chassidus, is mafshit. Und das ist noch hecher, das ist noch hecher von hecher. Und sie gewohne, all gewohne. And sie wird ein und efes mamisch. And how do I relate to that? Ich verstehe, was ich frage. Sich redt stussen. Could be redt stussen. Aber Chassidim ist Adarabba, was mehr nicht, ist mehr ja. But bei Guf, vergessen wir es nicht so. Was mehr ja ist ja, und was mehr nicht ist nicht. Und es mafschut und mafschut und mafschut. Sie bei mir geblieben, Gott ist schon am Eibsten. I was scared. I was scared to learn a minor. Sie geht mir belang. Als größer Gott, was ich gehad, was mir so lieb gehad. Was hat mir geholfen, ich hatte den Mund in Betochen. You know. Simcha keini imam. Nebischke Bechor, Betochen. Sie gewann a Bechor, I was pointing to him. I lost him. Sie gewann ein Efes. Aber wenn man sagt, man lernt in dem Chassidus, setzt man, als Atzmusay Mehusay, Lamoshel, der Rebbe sich auf Tfilis Chane. Tfilis Chane verbinden Davke mit was, mit Gashmias und Mathe, der Ayen, es verbunden nicht mit Oilem Esruchnis, sondern mit mir allein, der Rebbe hat mir lieb. Und steht Leben nicht. Die zwei Affechen, wo der Rebbe zusammengestellt allemal. Atzmusay Mehusay, as Joel said, ist going to say schnellich streden. Atzmusay Mehusay, und in derselben Zeit, as was, Poshet, es negei mir, mein Guf. Nicht nur mein Himmel, nur mein Guf. Und es hat a Kesher. I remember, I made once a dinner. Made a dinner in the atrium. When the atrium opened, a dinner for the Beis Chabad in Safran. It was even before Safran. For Beis Chabad, I made a dinner. I went with Isaac to sit down with the caterer to discuss, the catering. So I come in, if you need for business, what do you need for business? The best thing for business. What is the best thing? It's a business, man. Electricians, electrician, ich weiß nicht was. Yeah? So what is the best business? You have pictures of all the Rebbes. You walk into catering house, pictures of all the Rebbes in the world, and the woman is not going to give it. So now you have a cashier for everybody. Yeah? Find your bratas. Yeah, Mr. Belzer, Mr. Business, everything. So I come in there, and Isaac points out to me and says, tell me, of course I had a picture of the Rebbe too. And Isaac tells me, I'm Dovid, Zugman. What do you see different between the Rebbe's picture and all the other pictures? So I look at him and say, I'm Maven, I'm Maven of Rebbe's, I'm Chili. I said, I'm not talking on the Shamas, I'm not talking Himmel. So I looked at it and it says like this. You see every Rebbe there you see is full of Gilui. You can't see a Rebbe stam. Either he goes like this, or holds a gartel with a chosn, a column. And I'm not making litzonis. And maybe these Rebbes was helping about that. They didn't do it for the camera. I'm not making litzonis chalila. They were talking, he's getan from well. und gekrochen Hechering, geflogen Hechering, bemele geht das you know, das helemaal so gar nicht. The Rebbe's picture, the Rebbe steht over there and smiles. Speichel. What makes high to the kid? Ano Nosef Melke! Hecher von alle Geluyim! What makes high to a little kid? Or who was in Tzivus Hashem and he makes the salutes him. Das hat mir zurückgestellt, was? Und der Ano Nosef Melke hat nicht da weggenommen gehabt. Der Emes der Sheiches, that is a Sheiches to me in my goof, and Nefesh Abami is the way I am. And La'achrei Shechoto, we daf Tshuvato, we daf Tzirikehren sich zum Eibishten. No, we have a Sheiches that's Musa, Mehusa, and Adarabba. Mechile, Sliche, Kapore, Davke comes nicht von Nevi'im, nicht von Teire, und nicht von Chachamim, nor von Atzmusa, Mehusa, the way the Rebbe comes. That's the Sheiches. So that Kesher, no Kavim. Geht hin und zurück. Dafke Olam Hazeh Agashmi. In the Koch and Alter Rebbe, which I don't think, the Alter Rebbe quotes it B'Shem the Arizal. So I'm sure it says in the Arizal, but I didn't see it. I'm not this big Boki, but yes, Rabbi Gerari is a bigger Boki than me. But I don't think that in too many Polish Svarim steht der Mann Tazazach. At the Tachlis from the ganzen Yeridas on the Neshama is Dafke B'Shvul Nefesh Abamis, not B'Shvul the Neshama. All over it's mentioned mitzat Yerida l'tzorech Aliyah, the Aliyah of the Neshama, then Hechem, and the Tachlis of the Neshama is Parashat Iber machen Welt Hom Masayches to Guf Gashmi, Iber machen Guf Gashmi, und am Mitzvah bedafke Meise bepoil. In das Alts is Dafka no Nosef Malke. Nicht geluyen. But how does it work, Taki? So if you start with the Hakdam of the Maimer, with the Havamim of the Maimer, yeah? So the Havamim of the Maimer is the Duchsin Arif the Chavim Mazolis, is the sun and the moon. Okay? Verstehe ich. The sun and the moon, if anybody believes in them, is Kfire Mamish. Because it's Kigarzin, Biyad Achitzem, they have no Koyer, they have no Mamish. The Rebbeinu Shalom is Mahava, Machaya, the Yed, Rege, Bechorege, Vrei, Loila, Badavaya, the Baruch HaNitzav, and the Rebbeinu Shtetans. Gar nicht. So B'meila, it comes to as was, the Pikach is the only emes. The rest is junk. Nothing. Sheker. Sheker. But if you go to the second half Maimer, am Redo wegen Ashpo. Und wir kennen Ashpo, viele von Atzile. Und Giluyim. Nur was then Ayit is nicht Tofar Giluyim, Anit is nicht Tofar Ashpo. Is here for the emes, why the Rebbe wants us. Then Shaila, let me ask you a Shaila. Is those Giluyim, is Atzilus the same as the sun and the moon? Maybe Yosem, yeah? Like we're going to be Mevatel. Atzilus doesn't exist. And Adam Kadmon doesn't exist. It's gar nicht gegazen, wie Ad Achitz. It's doch gar nicht, and all it's Musa Mehusa. If you look into the Maimer, I cheated in the Maimer, you know? And the Maimer, the Rebbe compares this whole Anonas Malke to the Werte von Alten Rebbe. Ich will nicht an Ganeden Helgen, nicht an Ganeden Tachten, nicht mehr wie dir allein. And the Rebbe adds a word. And who was a bigger maven on Ganeden Helgen, Ganeden Tachten than the Alten Rebbe? Why did he add those words? He ruined the whole Maimer. Why did he add those words? It's interessant. The Rike de Anonas Malke. No. The Rebbe says no. But there wissen was soll my boys. That was an amazing with the Alter Rebbe was amazing. And that took who knows how many years of our Ravanya, of Avoida, of Zutzukim mit a Sorge von Ganeden Tachten, and then a Sorge von Ganeden Helgen, and then noch hecher, and then to be mevatel all of that, and sagen no back. So like the famous story of the Chassid, the famous story of this Chassid, I'm sure you know the name, I don't know the name, that he davened hours and hours and he fasted so many days because till after Shachas, he didn't need, whatever. And when he was in his 80s, he felt very schwach and he had no koyach. He said he has charata on all those arichas. Why? Because if he not put on such, he would have a gesund to the guf and be living another day, another few days. Put on another day tefillin is more than anything else in the world. So of course you all know the story that a chassid said that Tutsukum and Tzazam Adrege to the Herren Dos hat man gedacht davenen for 80 years to be masik to sing. So we need all the Giluyim of sitzen und lernen Chassidus, und kochen sich in Chassidus, in befehrisch mit der Have, mit der Geschmack in Giluyim. Und Aderabbe, durch lernen Chassidus mit der richtigen, der Rebbe's Cook, was der Hertler, wo der Rebbe sagt, that the Alter Rebbe is the biggest maven of all these Giluyim. Who knows better what Olam Haba is than the Alter Rebbe? Dafke sagt er, nicht dein Olam Haba, mehr nicht die Dafke. B'meila, I was thinking, I don't know, I'm talking too much. L'chaim. I was thinking, I once heard from Rabbi Yoel. If you want to sing a nigga, you could, yeah, I'm still by my mitzvah, we can sing. It's not a problem. When I was going to Rabbi Yoel by these, as I mentioned before, so one of the things that he kochs, in the Rebbe's koch, of a maisa hu ha'ikir. A maisa hu ha'ikir. You know how many million times you heard that from the Rebbe? A maisa hu ha'ikir. It's a Mishnah Shleima, but the Rebbe's koch, a maisa hu ha'ikir. So Rabbi Yoel explained to me, for the side, sagt man as was, the Alter Rebbe in Tanya goes back and forth with this whole Indian. As a mitzvah, beli ahava v'yireh, beli d'chilu yirechime, leparchas le'ele. So you need dafke the ahava v'yireh. On the other hand, sagt man, a maisa v'yikeh. So I remember Rabbi Yoel explained to me once barichas like this. The Eibishter is Lamaila Mikal Dargin. The Eibishter is Atzmus Husser. He's not shy to take the Eibishter with anything. So the Eitzige Weg. So let's put it this way. In every relationship, in a relationship between a chaver, a father and a son, a husband and a wife, in a relationship, it takes two to tangle. You need you, and you need the other person. If you have only one, and it could be a very good one, a mashpia ad v'lidai, a gewaldige man, a koyf, a git, everything. If she's not there, there's no relationship. If the other side, you have a makabel who wants looking out, but he's not there. Forget, you have nothing. In a relationship. So he said, in order to have the Eibishter, you need a mitzvah. Without the mitzvah, the Eibishter is not. You could have machshavas and kavanas and flying. I once heard from Avraham Ayor. He said us, Ayid sagt, chab hold the Eibishter. Hold, you know what hold means? I love. Ayid sagt, chab hold the Eibishter. I don't know what that means. But, maybe he has heartburn. He says maybe he thinks of a shindalet. How do I know he loves the Eibishter? He says, I love the Eibishter. I love. Maybe he's a hippie. And he's going out for love. He says, Od zeichem tana mitzvah. He has a lulav in his hand. Pesach. Das ist Perigdal Tanya. Ja, am keinem beemes zu events. Das der Eibishter Pesach. I'm not Pesach. That's because I'm a shindalet. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Yeah. So Rabbi Yoel Masber given, in order to have the Eibishter part of the relationship, him being here, you need a mitzvah. You take your hands, you put a penny in there, a quarter, you drop it into the pushka. You know what you did? You brought down atzmusoi, umuhusoi, mitzvahs tzedakah, gedolei tzedakah, shebekareves, naltreves tzedakah, stam tzedakah, mitzvahs tzedakah, it's called tzedakah. You took your penny and you dropped it into the pushka. It says atzmusoi, umuhusoi came right here. Now, then the problem is, if you're not in the mood and if you're upset, why did I have to part with the quarter? I could have bought a candy with it. That means that Hashem is angekommen da, but it didn't get here. A halve year you need that you should be there. As along kommen zu dir, der Eibishter is da mit the mitzvah. You are not there. Durch dem, was da halve year, that means that I love it. That it's my kesher. Giluyim darf man haben für sich. Der Eibishter soll sein, da ist no mal. But if I don't care about it, and I don't sit and learn chassidus for a few hours, and I don't do in Yana, which macht a Geschmack as mein Geschmack. I remember I was sitting in Morristown, and the soft year they made a Miftzah Torah and they gave out prosim. Hundreds of dollars for Bacharim that learned all the Sechter, and hundreds of dollars for this, and they gave out prosim. And then they asked me I should say a few words. I remember I stood up and I said, Pella V'Hafta. We're sitting in Lubavitch, and the whole koch is about Avodas Hashem, and about Bittul. And we came to Sarayinda that we're making, this fuss about giving money to, I remember the Rosh.
Rabbi Weisberg, we're talking about your father-in-law for a second.
The Rosh.
Oh no, the uncle. Sorry. You could continue talking. Carry on.
So the Rosh once said he was very upset that we always make latzanos that Litvish Bacharim, the Litvish yeshivas, they implant in the Bacharim, and every Bachar should have a she'ifa to become a Kiveg. That's the she'ifa of a Bachar. He's the next to Kiveg. And they're harder, they learn night and days, and they, and some of them never have terrible achzava after that. He didn't end up being a Kiveg, whatever. Although some people start thinking they are. Right? So I don't know which one is more trouble. But, laughable. But Al Kaponim, so I remember the Rosh, he was very upset. He says when they started to give the prosim for learning Blätter Gemara, another $1, another $5, so the Rosh was so upset, he says. And Kiveger told me in the Schwer, aber für $1 mag man sich verkaufen. He says, if you want to sell me as a Teres Hamaya, me learn Teres, you're starting to sell for dollars. For comes the Teres for $1. He said, Kiveger told me in the Schwer. He was like this. Whatever. But Al Kaponim, it's Al Kaponim. So I told the Bacher, what's taking the pshat? We're giving dollars, and we're giving him a prize, and he comes up, and there's a picture taken. He is got so many blätter. So I told him that the truth is, it's a good kasha. I said, come to Krishma Shalamita, each and every Bacher who got a prize should sit down and make a cheshbon on nefesh. That does he want covered? Is that why he learned for? That's his business between him and Hashem. The reason we do it is for one reason, because unfortunately, Melechtan Amadina, for some Bacherim, their inyan is to have shiny shoes, and their koch is lav dafka how many Blätter Gemara I know. So in order to make sure that Blätter Gemara is the heiligste Sach was can sein, if you verkauft man es von Amerikaner Wochen, so you pay for it. But Chalil is that what it is? Of course you should have tshuv on that at night. But in order, I remember I learned by the Mendel Wechter, in those days he was a frumak, and we had Chan Yokish and Yonov, verschiedene Jahren, I can't get into this now. But so I remember we had
We're
a
not going to
bocher.
push you now.
I remember a bocher came into our yeshiva, and there was a few bocher, and we became a verputzter Chevreman, and the Chavedim, they wanted to really put him in place. So you know, he was a verputzter, and we were busy with them. Some had gelernt Chabad, some had gelernt Maral or Kotzk or whatever. Kochen sich in verschiedenen Jahren. This bocher is verpitzt, and you know his suit was, you know, his pants had a crease. They could get a cut from it like from a razor, you know. So a few Bacharim took him and they dunked him into the mikveh. He came out crying. I remember screaming, my crease, my pants. Mama's like, as he right. The crease fell out of his pants. Das says, and I followed this guy to the stone. The crease out of the pants. So of course we have to have a koch. A koch, as our koch was. Is that in the border? There's nothing else. Wie verkauft man es von Amerikaner Bocher? Gibt man ein paar Dollar für den. But Chalila, das ist das Sibbe, von was man lernt. So, Kaponim, Be'emes Lamite darf sein, der Anon Nosef Malki. Aber zuzukommen mit Anon Nosef Malki, wenn man lebt in Neulam Azeh Agashmi, there are all kinds of inyanim, and there are all kinds of obstacles and nisyonos and inyanim of technology or whatever you want to call it. Inyanim was schlepp, tavek, ayidin. And it's easy to say, oh, I know Nosef Malke, ich habe Scheiches, Atzmusoi und Mahusoi. Ist der Weg zuzukommen zu Atzmusoi und Mahusoi, is durch dem, was Ayid darf haben a Geschmack in a Have, a Geschmack in Yire, and yes, maybe even have a Kav. A ganze Woche have a Kav, als ich koche in einem Beis, oder Samachwof. Have a Kav, und was ich koche mit was ich daven. Und so kommt Freitag, wenn man wartelt den Kav, weil der Rebbe ist an Nosef Malke. And man geht raus auf Mifzoyim, and you go to another person, a freie person who doesn't know about the Have, who doesn't know about the Yidde, versteht nicht das Zilis, and you push it, take his hand, and put on a pair of Tefillin on him, weil Nosef Malke, weil der paar Tefillin, das ist der Rebischter allein. But that only comes, da hat Koch a ganze Woche, und alle in Janum von einem Beis und von Samachwof und von Bioim Ashte Yosser und der Rebbes Chassidus v'chulu, l'chaim.
Anfang gemacht noch was vor. Ich mache das
Ja.
Er nimmt sich einen Ballon.
What I did, huh? So I said the way that ever did it was that it Dafka Kesher both together. Dafka, that Mushad, has a shaykhs to our move. Has a shaykhs to. Let me ask your father.
Mendel.
Who is the one who cares for every child? Is it a mama, a father, or a Rosh Hashiva? Rosh Hashiva is a shaykhs to Geluim. He talks to the genies of the class. He has a mind. He doesn't have a mind.
You know what's going on.
Child is born from a tip of secret, not from brain, not from Giluim, not from Abba.
That's the tip
of birth. Depends on you. Came down to the lowest level. So you have the lowest level in a very, very very gosh.
Oh, you found it?
Mother was jumping fire.
Oh, yeah, you did? Maybe you did. Maybe you did.
Yeah, we don't stop.
Sometimes you see a
I was just thinking.
and they don't connect. They don't have
Someone
the
was
same
talking
language.
to me
They don't have the Giluim.
that he's moving here, but he's sending his kids to school because Cheder not good enough. He was like, I'm like, okay, chill. Cohen? No, it's interesting. Sometimes I don't expect. You know, whatever. I don't know.
Down here, we're not exactly. So yes, we cheetahs and pieces. The Rebbe had the same way.
Build something like that by Galileo. That's crazy. Could. Why not? I feel like people are ready. It's just that, you know, if people were taka ready, then it would have been.
Chaim l'chaim. It's hard to talk a ganze Zeit, so I want to ask a kasha. And the Rebbe was an emphasis, I should kind of verbeißen, a bisschen an der Rebbe.
If you want, by the way, see what you asked. Yeah, from today, a pilot that he saw from the Nachman Bresler, he says, Yirida is Tachlis Aliyah. The Kaishnet, that Yirida Alein is the Aliyah. Yirida Alein is the...
Yirida Alein is the Aliyah.
Yeah.
That's a tiefer word. But, so the way I explained the Rebbe Yoel explained to me how the Hava V'Yira and worked with Maisa B'Poel. Maisa B'Poel is was das der Rebster. A mitzvah, das der Rebster. Yeah? And the Hava V'Yira, that's me. And the Rebster soll ankommen, euchet in mein Hart. When I Hava V'Yira, the Rebster was angekommen, I put on film, the Rebster was angekommen in my hand. It didn't get to me. If I'm not in the mood, and it didn't get to me. Aber der was Ayid tut es mit der Hava V'Yira, das ist der Kesher, der Jachsus von der Eberste, mit Ayid zusammen. I want you to tell me what steht in Tana. I just learned it the last few days. The Rebbe says, Amaisa hu Iker. And then he goes off, even though Amaisa hu Iker. What does the Alter Rebbe explain? I have difficulty first to understand. What sagt the Alter Rebbe? Even though Amaisa hu Iker, he explains, he gives Mushalom the same way we have Daimim, Tzemeach, Achai, and Medaber. Achai is higher than Daimim, and Medaber is even higher, so too Machshava and Ahava is higher. So is Maisa higher or is Ahava higher? Which one is it? Herr Weisberg, was steht in Tanya?
I wanted to tell you something. There was a big kid to the Bible. I was being quiet here. There was a big kid to the kids. I was trying to listen to you, and there was a big kid to the kids. They said, Mila David, you talk. But in the middle of Farbrengen, you don't talk, so I have to... They just had a lot of time to say.
I had a Maisamol. As a Maisamol, I had a person in my base Chabad.
Where's our bunch?
When I was in my base Chabad in Farbrengen, when I was there, I had a minute that I allowed people to ask Shilas between Ben Gabriel and Gabriel by Kriyas HaTeira. Parsha Shemini, when we read the Parsha of Kashrus, there's a guy over there, a smart aleck. The guy had polio, came with a wheelchair. And so he raised his hand and he said, Rabbi Ganz, I want to ask you something. Don't you think that all of our Jewish brethren, I mean the secular Jews, don't you think they're all hypocrites? I said, how so? He says, because they eat kosher at home, and then they don't keep kosher outside when they go to restaurants. Don't you think they're hypocrites? And I knew exactly where he was going. In other words, that was an excuse, an answer, why he doesn't keep kosher. Because he is not a hypocrite.
Even at home.
So I asked him, Harold, tell me, I hear you. So what do you want? Do you want that all of them? I hear you, they're hypocrites, terrible. But what do you want? They should stop keeping kosher at home, or they should also start keeping kosher in the restaurant. Which one do you really want? And then I told them, I saw it in a letter of the Rebbe. I elaborated on it. Because the person who wrote to the Rebbe that he's not a hypocrite. The Rebbe asked him to put on film. He said, I'm not a hypocrite. I don't do anything in my life that I don't understand. Nothing. I research things before I do something. And film, I don't understand, so I don't do it. And the Rebbe answers him. I don't have the letter in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing. But to that extent, the Rebbe doesn't stech below the belt. The Rebbe says it in a very, very, shalom. But what the Rebbe's statement is, what the statement you just said is the most hypocritical statement you ever made. Because you fly an airplane, you understand aerodynamics. Everybody knows that a big thing like a 747, without gravity, should plots down and kill everybody. Unless you know aerodynamics. It says when you ate cereal in the morning, when you were 5 years old or 6 years old or 16, you understood the digestive system. You knew exactly which enzyme will take care of which carbon or which or now was then your mother ate, your Bobby ate, your grandbobby ate, and so you eat too. If you eat 25 years, you might end up in medical school and you'll think you know how the digestive system works. Yeah. And so everything in the world works like that you first do it, but all of a sudden, tefillin, which is so abstract, which is connected to Shemayim, to heaven, that you expect what? To first understand and then to do it, is the most typical. So I said, Harold, the statement you just made is the most hypocritical statement that anybody made. Since when, if anybody cannot get 2 kidneys, he can only get a donation of 1 kidney, will you take one or not? If you can't win $100 million, will you take 50 million or not? All of a sudden, when it comes to Yiddishkeit, you say, no, if I can't keep kosher all the time, I'm not ready. He says, Elamai, what's the pshat? This is the most hypocritical statement. You're trying to tell me I'm not keeping kosher because of that. So he looked at me and he said, Rabbi, so what is a hypocrite? If you do one day like this and one day, what is a hypocrite? So I think I heard it from Yossi Jacobson. I think it was one of his stories, if I'm not mistaken. Is that a hypocrite? A bona fide hypocrite is Jack and John opened a cleaning store together, a high-end cleaning store. And Jack realized one day a guy brought in a suit worth $5,000, put it in his hand in the pocket, and he took out a creased $100 bill. Beautiful. Ran off. He took it out, slipped it out of the pocket, and slipped it into his own pocket. John found out about it 6 months later. He started screaming and pounding on the table against his partner. You hypocrite! A man spent $5,000 on a suit. Comes to a high-end cleaning, which he pays probably $200 for the suit to be cleaned. And you find a $100 bill. You slip it out, and you didn't even share it with me. What a hypocrite you are! That's a bona fide hypocrite. Under the name of idealism, you have to share it. The fact that I cannot do everything, we're human beings. We can get $100. If I can be quiet, right, Shemoneh, I'll try this. Tomorrow I can be quiet by Farbrengen too. Fine, we take whatever we can. But let's not. The Rebbe doesn't look down. But what did I want to say? What is it? What? But tell me, what was the Alter Rebbe in Tanya? You're allowed to cheat. Take it out Tanya. The Alter Rebbe asked the kasha. I just told you a Maisa V'yikin. And that's why Hiru Lafke Diberdam. Yeah? And maybe you have to say, if you're not Yotz, if you didn't say the word, you're not Yotz. You have to say it. Hiru. Why? The Alter Rebbe explains, because the tachlis of the neshama is Iber Machen Nefesh Abamis and Chelkoi B'oilam Dafke here. That's why we're here. Yom Oledes, as the Rebbe said. The neshama l'mayla is the hechste neshama. Wasn't born here, doesn't count. Neshama the Rebbe. Hechste neshama d'atzilis. Wasn't born yet. It's Himmeldik. He was born, da. Sheiches to uns. Oh, that's the tachlis. Tachlis. That's a non-nos of Malki. Yeah. But then the Alter Rebbe says, why is it that the Gemara says Tefillah b'loi kavanis ki gu b'loi neshama? The Alter Rebbe's pages, he explains it in pages, and he gives them a shalom. The same way that Chaya is much higher than Tzameach, and Tzameach is higher than. So you see in the Shamas a hecher. What is he explaining? I understand. So you're telling me the Maisa is not Iker. The Chaya is hecher ben gut from Daimon. We just learned it a few days ago. I was confused. I was perplexed. I think what the Alter Rebbe is saying, I think it's Pasha Pshat. You'll be able to cheat after that and look it over. This rabbi who was fired once. They came to a rabbi, the whole committee with the president, and they fired him. I said, what did I do wrong? He said, you think we don't know? We watch you. We have cameras on you. He got so frightened. What do they have on me? He says, we watch you every night. He says, they have what I do at night? Come on, with somebody chesed me. He says, yes. We thought we hired an accomplished rabbi. We see you every night bend over the books and you cheat. He says, you thought we had it. So it's okay, go ahead after that and cheat in the books. But I think what the Alter Rebbe is saying is like this. The tachlis of Ayitis was Maisa v'poel. Hiru lafke dibidam. Yeah? So, if I need to bring down a mitzvah b'poel mamash dafke and gashmis. Dafke Maisa b'poel. Yeah? So in other words, I have to affect gashmis. Which mitzvah will affect more gashmis? A mitzvah that I did with the half of the year, or a mitzvah that I did without the half of the year? Get the word. It's not about the half of a year. It's about I have to change chalke b'yoylim. Chiyas HaMesim will be dafka guf. I have to bring down elokus dafka lemata mata. But it's like those who have a Chabad house, and we think marketing is the main thing. You know, and I have to dilute Torah mitzvah so much that the guy should be able to be a tailor. I gave him nothing. It's all about the marketing, and what did I give him? I gave him nothing. Yeah. The Alter Rebbe says, I have to affect the Olam Hazeh. Maisa hu ha'ikar. If I had only hitter, I didn't affect the Maisa. I didn't do anything. I wasn't Yotzei B'chlal. Maisa hu ha'ikar. But this Maisa to affect, I have to do what? A mitzvah with chayes is an andere sort mitzvah, a mitzvah without chayes. So with the chayes, that mitzvah could affect Gashmias. Does it make sense what I'm talking or not? You can't say anything with me. No.
Yeah,
Huh? Go ahead.
The Rebbe says that the Rebbe brings in the mind the church from the Rebbe last few weeks ago that the davening itself is tzedakah. The ultimate tzedakah is davening. The Abbas Hashem Yus Hashem.
But again,
you just
you're making the cold person become a.
you know what?
Is nice.
I mentioned
what is
something.
all these
Let me tell you.
around for tzedakah
Chavra,
and davening?
you know what? Are you ready for a good story? Are you ready for a geschmack story, Chavra?
I'm going to a psychologist
That's on davening.
because there's so much harassment.
Is anybody ready for a geschmack story? Rob, are you say davening? I was once stuck. A meiste for them, like geschmack meiste. Not printed any place. Meiste that happened with me. I was once stuck, probably 35 years ago, 1985, something like that. I was stuck on the 287. I had a blow up in my car. One of the tires blew up. An old Hasidic dilapidated car. And I was missing, if it's a tool, if it was one nut, it was too nutty, it didn't come out. And it was way before cell phones. And I'm standing side of the road, and if you don't speed, there are no cops either. And nobody was standing for 45 minutes.
It was way before summer cell phones, or
No, before real cell phones. I'm talking 1985. Yeah. So I'm standing in the side of the road. It was on the 287 in Westchester, and finally a guy, the pickup truck rolls up next to me, and he comes out to help me. The guy in the 60s, and he had the tool. They took off the tire in 2 minutes, took out my spare tire, put it on, and helped the Eibishter that this was a real Hasidic dilapidated car. The new tire, the spare tire, had less air than the old tire. So what do you do now? So he looked at his watch. He said, Rabbi, it's 5:45 or 5:45. He says, I know a shop is open till 6. He threw in the tire into the back of his pickup truck. He says, let's go. So we drove over to a place, and they got a new tire. Came back. On the way back, I start talking to him. And Baruch Hashem, now I have a tire. So I start talking to him. It turns out he's a Yid. So I asked him if he's affiliated, what shul does he go, Reform, Conservative. He says he doesn't go to any shul. He says, in Kippur, you never went to a shul? He says, no. He says, in Kippur? He says, in Kippur, Rabbi, don't get me wrong, in Kippur is the most beautiful day in the world. Can you imagine God giving amnesty, clean slate? It's an unbelievable day. But it's made for those Jews who sinned. I never killed a cockroach in my life. I'm so... So he never goes to shul because he never killed a cockroach. So I realized that I'm dealing with the real ignorance. So I tried to teach him that ignorance is not always bliss. How about starting to learn something? I did not have my Chabad house yet. It was a year before we opened the Chabad house. We opened in '86. This was '85. But I need to bring him to a shir. So there was an organization over here. I don't think anybody over here remembers. Maybe you'll remember. No. Before Top, you didn't open Top yet. It was called JEP, Jewish Education Program. There were two people who ran it. Rabbi Schwab, Olav Shalom, was a brother of the Schwab who just passed away, and Litvish guys, nice guys. He was very close with them. And what was the other guy? Shai Rodbart. I don't know where he is today. Whatever. So they had a little. It was where you have now Muncie housewares, next to A and B Fish, and that little, there was that a little Kirov house, a little Kirov house. So I decided I have to bring him to a shir. So I made up with him. I'm going to bring him to. Came there. There was a Rabbi Maimon who gave a speech, and he gave a speech on Genesis, on the pasuk of Haaretz Hoysal Soyo Vavoyu Varuach Halakim Elachefes Al Pnei Hamayim. And he had a delivery unbelievable, at least for my Satmar English. He had immaculate English, and he was unbelievable, and it was scientific. He took all the 105 elements, at least at that time they had 105 elements, and he put all the 105 elements into the pasuk Varuach Halakim. He categorized them, which one is Choshech, Toyu, Voyu, which one is fire, which one is water, and he put everything science into that pasuk. I was blown away, literally. So he finished the class. I went over to this guy, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Sir, how did you like the class?" And he tapped me back on my shoulder and he says, "Aaron, if I want to learn science, I go to Harvard and Yale. They do a better job. I came to learn the unadulterated Torah. Why did you water it down for me? Why?" So this was before I opened the Chabad house. I got my message. Yes, you have to do marketing. Of course, you have to speak in English to them. You can't speak Yiddish. Yeah, I understand. Aber verkaufe was? Yeah. Without Ahava v'Yira, I'll finish the story. It's a long story. It's a beautiful story. I'll get back to the story. Without Ahava v'Yira, the Tachlis is the Maisa. The Tachlis is the Nefesh Abamis. Hiru laf kedibur. You have to talk. You have to bring down Maisa b'Poel. But was? What do I bring down Maisa b'Poel? The mitzvah with Ahava v'Yira is an under-the-surface mitzvah. It's not a diluted mitzvah. A mitzvah with Ahava v'Yira, Zog the Alter Rebbe, is like the comparison of the Chai to a doimen. It's a lebedik mitzvah. But when you do this b'dibur, then you affect. I think that's Pshat and Alter Rebbe. I guess you're going to cheat later and you're going to disagree with me. It's okay. The Meister Shoy was. Now here comes the Meister of the Rebbe. I took him there, and after he finished, he left. I don't have much connection with him. I don't know if he left me a number or whatever.
Is it regarding that shir, after that shir?
After that
Well,
shir.
the very fact that he said that shows that he has, he's a keli.
Yeah, he was a keli, but I don't know what happened with him. That's the honest. While I was sitting there at that place, a person came over to me. Does anybody here know a name? Maybe you shouldn't say the name. Maybe I should.
What is that? You should.
Name what? Another name. Have you heard of the name Frank Bloom? No. Okay, fine. There's a person came over to me there. A person who was Frei Shebe Frei, and that organization started to make him from, slowly but surely. And he had an Israeli wife who grew up Bnei Akiva, but very strong from. At the age of 16, she decided to leave everything, and she came to America, became Frei, and she dated this person on a bus on Yom Kippur. To that extent, she became Frei. She dated this man Yom Kippur on a bus. So this man tells me, I'm starting to become frum, but I have a wife who's so antagonistic and so against Yiddishkeit that if the rabbi calls me that it's a shir tonight, she cuts the cord. Right? She's so upset. She says, maybe you're Lubavitcher, maybe you could talk to her. What? So I picked up a phone. Next night I picked up a phone and I called her. There's the Maisa.
Rabbi Weisberg, it's very interesting. It's about Trump. A little bit.
Rabbi Weisberg, you know, they say a Maisa. Rabbi Weisberg, they say a Maisa.
Just like I can Dovid and talk at the same time.
Rabbi Weisberg, you know, they say a Maisa. They say a Maisa that a Chosn said his drosha by the Chassan or by the Sheva Brachas. The Shver zal herden his big drosha. But he knew a beautiful pilpul, he knew the kasha, he knew the teretz with the Mashal answers, and how the Bach disagrees. When it came to the Shagis Arya, how he lost it. But the Shver was unimpressed. You know, the Bach, the Mashal. So he made up with his Chaver Ben Tzion that when he gets to the Shagis Arya, he should start singing. But the Shver will be impressed. It's good enough. Help the Rebishter, Rachmana Litzlan, you know what happened? Ben Tzion sitting at that corner of the table and starts talking with Chaverim. And he's holding almost at the Shagis Arya and select him finster and bitter. And Ben Tzion is talking. And he's getting stuck. Actually, he finished the Bach, he finished the Marshal, and he's holding it. So get the Ashrai, Ben Tzion! Du verstehst den Shagis Arya? Du travade verstehst? Oh, hoi di shama bore yakuda. So, Chaim. So this person, so I called up this woman, and miraculously, she didn't cut down the phone, and she started talking to me, but tinus every night. The Holocaust, where was Hashem here, where was Hashem there?
Every night?
Mamish, almost every night. Hours and hours. An Israeli bitter woman, you can imagine what that means. Bitter, angry, but at least she spoke. This person decided he kept Shabbos, he kept Kashrus, he wants to start keeping Taras HaMishpacha. What do you do?
That hit a nerve.
So he decided, he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Yeah. And Meir Mazel Tov, gaat het zeker verspäten, gaat met nach Farbrengen jetzt. Kann ich sagen. Deine Sari, das ist dann
Die ganze Röhm schickt der Mazel Tov.
Die ganze Röhm schickt der Mazel Tov. Alle wissen. Du warst ja tief damit. Okay, wir reden mit dir später. Wir morgen zufrieden. Sag ich so. So. Yeah, Mary Klein.
Oh, very cool.
I think. So Bekitzer, he writes a letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe writes back a letter to him. If you give me your name, your mother's name, your wife's name, your mother's name is Asker Alatzia. But by the way, you should know, it's not fair. You can't convince her. You married her as a free person. Who are you? You know, you have to get an outsider, another rabbi, somebody to try to talk to.
Who's saying?
The Rebbe.
So this is Frank.
The Rebbe answered this to him.
Well, the Rebbe would talk to
No,
Frank Bloom wants to start keeping
this guy wants to start to keep Taras HaMishpacha. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He says, I'm keeping Kashrus, I'm keeping Shabbos. She eats what she wants. She does what she wants in Shabbos. I keep it. But now I wanted to keep Taras HaMishpacha. We need both.
Yeah, I know.
So the Rebbe wrote back, give me your name, your mother's name, her name and her mother's name. Ask it on the scene. And then there was a PS at the bottom. By the way, if you want to influence her, you have to take an outsider. It's not fair. You can't. You married her as who you are. You have to take an outsider. So he became so excited. First, a letter from the Rebbe. You know, the Rebbe asked him. So he calls me out and he says, Rabbi, I had such rachmanis on you every night, hours and hours you're talking. So sorry, your Rebbe appointed you. Have a new job. The Rebbe gave you the job. Okay. So I took the job. But he was so excited to have a personal letter from the Rebbe. You know what he did? He was a chiropractor. Went to the back of his office, framed it and hung it up. This man is writing.
Was it Hebrew and English, or was it?
It was in English.
His wife saw it.
His wife walked in. She knew Hebrew anyway. She was Israeli.
Okay.
She walked in, and now I got a phone call that night. She told me something interesting. She says, Rabbi, you should know I used to go to the Lubavitch Rebbe for dollars. I asked her why. You don't believe in anything. She says, believe in here, believe in him. It says every nation has a leader. Very good. Exactly. Every nation has a leader. I'm Jewish. There's a Moshe Rabbeinu for every nation. She so told me. The Lubavitch Rebbe is the leader. Okay, so I go to him. But now, she says, I'm losing faith in him too. Not only in God. Because there are three options. Either she has to start keeping Taras HaMishpacha, or that means they get divorced, or she's dying. None of the three look at the horizon. So I don't believe in him either. No? What should I say? A week later, a week later, she comes to me and she was crying like a baby. Like a little baby. She was diagnosed with a tumor. She was crying. So I said, Herzliya, what's your problem? She looked at me, what's your problem? I was diagnosed. She says, you don't know what to do? You know exactly what you need to do. You have your answer. Write a letter to the Rebbe and say, you're Makabel, what she wants. She did. She wrote a letter to the Rebbe, she was Makabel. She came to me a week later, she said, I went to the doctor again, they did another scan. And the doctor told me, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you do, keep on doing. He showed her both scans. This is the first scan, this is a tumor, this is the second scan. Whatever you do, keep on doing.
She went to mikveh or just went to Achlot?
This was the Achlot. This was the Achlot.
Shut up! One of the mice.
Shut up! This was the Achlot. This was the Achlot. I don't think she went. Maybe she did, I don't know.
Doesn't matter!
So after that, she became frum. She wears a shaitel. She has frum kids. And she told me, they didn't become Lubavitch. They lit fish or whatever. They didn't become Lubavitch. So but she told me, if you ever anyone you crowd and your Chabad tell a story of the Rebbe, don't tell it yourself. Call me. I will tell the story to everybody.
She said that.
Yeah. Call me. Oh, I will tell.
No, don't give her a number because.
Wow. Which year did this story happen?
Huh?
Which year was it?
87.
1985.
85.
Well, before you opened the Chabad.
Yes, otherwise I would take him to my Chabad. This whole story happened because of the flat tire.
Listen, this phone call, little Mavish, I forgot the whole hench of the story.
Yeah. Stay focused. Let's say.
1 second. So the husband was the guy who picked you up in the van?
Huh?
The husband was the guy who picked you up in the van?
No.
So what was the flat tire?
I brought that guy to that class. That guy asked me, why did you teach me science, teach me Torah? And he left. This other guy came over to me. He was in that class. No connection. It was a mindset.
Very nice.
What happened to your car?
No, she said.
How'd you get to the
She said, the was giving a blessing. She's so asking her, let's see, give me your name, her name, ask her, let's see. She's going to go to mikveh. Whatever. She said, I see three options. Either I'm going, or what are the two other options? Her husband asks for a bracha to keep the Taras HaMishpacha. What are the three options? He says, I don't see any of them happening.
She was an Israeli woman. Was versteht sie? Was darf man fragen?
Der Geschmack ist sie hat gut verstanden in Indien. The Hainu, other geches halten, other is toit. She understood right away. Right away she understood.
It's an unbelievable story. It's a Meiser Jehoyah. It's a Meiser Jehoyah.
Did you ever get discouraged all this time that she's screaming at you and she's like, will you understand this? Don't start on
Let me tell you, you know what?
Why are you sewing fakers?
Either she has to die, or she has to get divorced, or she has to start going to mikveh. None of them seem to be on the horizon. So I don't believe in the Rebbe either.
So she wasn't a Svardish, right? I know a story in Long Island, the Shtech said that the same similar story. But he wasn't a problem because even by this father, I think she was Yemenite or something.
No,
said even though she wasn't religious, but her mother told her, "Yid, don't do religion."
No. She was She grew up religious. In fact, the story doesn't end there. It's just one day. One day she came to me.
Life goes.
Wait. The story doesn't end.
Stories are never over.
One day she came to me, and she started to become religious slowly. She started to give me talis on the shpacha. And one day she came to me.
This was after the Yishuv?
L'chaim. The Rebbe soll sein mit uns in jedem Prat.
Amen.
Kasher hoyu, in jener Meister, kasher hoyu, ma vayseinu, mit jener Meister, mit die Meister, wo wir sind, im Leben da, le Mathe, alle zusammen. So, bekitzer, so she started to become frum, but the Meister has, keeping. One day she comes, she says, why does my husband have to be such a zealot, such a kanoi? It's okay, you become frum. Why have to wear a yarmulke? You go to, he's in his business, his practice. There's so many Orthodox Jews who don't go with yarmulkes in the business. And why? So my best friend, which was so close to the family, is a conservative. They're making a bar mitzvah. They're making a conservative shul. My zealot husband won't go to the bar mitzvah. So a conservative shul. Why? I have to lose all my friends because of.
We're socialists.
So I asked her, Tzaliah, tell me, how did you grow up? She says, I went to Bnei Akiva, I was in Shiva, I learned. I says, what happened? She says, when I turned 16, I decided I'm balabas on my own. I decided to leave Yiddishkeit. So I asked her, tell me, what did your father do? She says, he was heartbroken. He was shattered. Didn't take long. He unfortunately got a heart attack. I don't know if it's for this or not. Never he passed away. Her mother was a bekitzer. So I said, what did your friends do? She said, who cares? Let the chips fall where they may. It's my life. I decide to do whatever I want. Who cares what they say? I just started laughing. She says, Rabbi Ganz, why are you laughing at my tzaras? I have a Meshuggah husband. He doesn't want to have a bar mitzvah, he doesn't go to a bar mitzvah friends, and you're laughing. What are you laughing for? I laughed even harder. And finally she started laughing along. In other words, on the way down, let all the friends die. Let the chips fall where they may. Who cares what my friends say? On the way up, I can't lose all my friends. No. What do you mean? You can't be such a zealot. You can't. So, then the Maisa went even further. They had a son who became from. He was 12.
Naturally.
Yeah. They had a daughter who was 16 at the time. She was very bitter. She was a real teenager. To time given Tam Gan Eden, Tam Elam Haza, and she didn't want to become. She didn't want to have anything to do. And now she became so frum already. And she begged me, called me every night. What are we going to do with our daughter? She was crying.
Herzliya.
Yeah. And she wanted to force her daughter. Sorry. Remember the Rebbe's answer to your husband? You brought her up for her. You gave her the education for her. What do you want from her? Show her the beauty of Yiddishkeit. That's all you can do. Nothing else. Show her what a Shabbos needs. Show her beauty. I can't believe it. We'll never have our daughter back. She was same way bitter as her. That was the opposite. So one day it happened an interesting story.
Help us with one story.
Huh? What do you say?
It continues.
So one day it happened this when I made my kids bar mitzvah. I had Yerlish Muzabel, Moishi. Yerlish Muzabel and Moishi, all three bar mitzvahs. I made two bar mitzvahs. A bris you can't make two. A bar mitzvah you make two. One was in the Chabad house for the community, and one was for my mishpacha. They were not shaykh to mingle with the Chabad house, fry people. Even with the mechitza, but there wasn't. They were not kalim yet.
Different crowds.
Different crowds. They were not used to it. So it's a big deal to make two parties, whatever, So I made one in the Chabad house, and I made one for the mishpacha. That's how I went. But I decided by my mechi, you know what? They knew already what I'm doing, and they got a lot of regards from Muncie people that your son is not such a shagets. It's okay, it's a frumarid.
Crack the pot.
So I made it in Yeshiva Spring Valley, and I brought all the Fraya people, the entire Beis Chabad, which had a lot of people, and my mishpacha. But I made sure we had already quite a few frum people in Beis Chabad, Baal Tshuva. So I wanted they should be there, first and foremost, because I should show my father, you know.
Yes, Peters.
And they're dynamic, you know, so of course you'll get schar. So I called up this Mr. Bloom. I said, I'm making a mitzvah. I desperately need you there. Because you're one of them. So he starts crying and screaming. He says, Rabbi, I'd love to come. I'd want to come. So he was like an excited person. But I can't. He says, my daughter! That daughter that my wife screamed about, she's getting married to a boy from Chicago. She's wearing a sheitel. That night, she's getting married that night. The woman says, I can't come.
Was it a bessere Nachsus die gehabt?
That's a nice to show you. And then I had another son. My Moshe is an Eben Bapirostin in Chicago. So I remember I went to the Chassan, there was a Pidyon Abeni made. I went, and who do I find on the Shmuzal was Eben Bapirostin.
Yeah, you said Moshe.
You said Moshe.
Shmuzal, Shmuzal was Eben Bapirostin.
A bit confused.
Shmuzal was Eben Bapirostin. So I went to the
Pidyon Ben?
And who do I find that the Mr. Bloom is there to pick up his wife and kids are coming. You want to pick him up? His wife with 2 kids, his daughter, two kids. That's a nice.
He says this is like a Babachumai, so why? He says not only did he accomplish the mission, he also can't show it to his father. He says it's a real Babachum story. It's a kid.
Okay,
so nice.
No. If the real about Shemaisi, he'd show it to his father, and his father would be like, "No, do more."
Only the
That's the
What if I do something?
If you do that to your son, you have a big problem, my friend.
If I accomplish it, my father rarely has like thinking. He'd be like,
"Okay." I'm saying it as somebody who had similar treatment from the previous generation. It's supposed to show your son's
I was by Revelation.
he doesn't show a lot.
Youngest son.
He went through his own. He's about showing himself.
2 years ago, and Mendel was there, wheeled in a wheelchair under the chuppah to give him a bracha. The first thing he says, "Sha'akal mi b'dvarik." He said they corrected him. It wasn't that bracha. I was there.
Who is
Was
this?
it red wine or was it white wine?
Who is this?
Doesn't matter. The story is like, it's like I was.
Ashreinu Matev Chakein. Wir wissen, ob der Rebbe uns gegeben Mazai Yerusha,
I was like,
Zamatona.
doesn't matter. Under the chuppah, weggebracht and says, "Sha'akal mi b'dvarik."
That works.
Yeah.
Roll my eyes.
I was the one this week.
Well, because it looks like mashka, so
Living with something that's not necessarily connected. Appreciate
last week, and Shabbos we had my mother's sister was very nice. she was looking for dollars to give to him. And she was looking for dollars, and she found a dollar with the day of the dollar. So she was like amazed, you know, it was really emotional, it was really nice. So we said bracha about Slacha. She said this is for her. But then she remembered her sister married COVID, and a lot of people didn't come. So she's like, I have to find a dollar for her. So she's looking through, she found another dollar. That same thing. That one it said Mr. Service. So, sorry. It said Mr. Service on the first one, and it said Bracha Bat Simcha on the second one. And then, apparently, on the first one she gave to my brother, it was also Bracha Bat Simcha for her Shiva, so she was going to go to Pesach to Wisconsin, where the Shlucha is from. So it was amazing. Many levels.
They say that they never get back.
A lot of times you have to just start. You start. It means a lot to the younger generation. I mean, like for me, I have a lot of dollars. So it's a different question is, what am I going to do?
To me, it's not a problem. Do it to him. He might have fun.
I would love
It'll be like therapy.
No, I don't know if I want to hear.
Fine.
Don't say another story. Don't worry, we made up. I didn't say I was a crowd.
He wants to punch you.
He can punch me anytime you want.
Ashreinu Matuv Chakenu
That is right.
is
The fact that Rabbi Ganz and myself are sitting here in one table is already Ashreinu.
Ashreinu Matuv Chakenu. We have not going to say Kamusik that the Rebbe gives to us, and the Reichkeit, the richness that what the Rebbe gives to us, and all the Kavan, whether it's a Reise, Kutsha, Berichu, and Yisrael. When I came to Lubavitch, I had a hard time. I have to tell you, all my knowledge is young. But the first sikha that I had, the first sikha of most Farbrengens was very difficult for me. Second sikha was hard because it was hard to understand. First of all, the Rebbe's Yiddish, the Rebbe's way of talking was hard. You know, you have to get used to it. But the first sikha, I personally was lost. We're talking about a goyen oilam, a goyen oilam, was called and has chidushim ad b'lidai. And the first sikha of every Farbrengen was busy with pachim kitan. Today is Tuesday, Parshas B'Shalach. the Kviyas of this year, then it's 3 days before the Shchedish, and it's 1 day after the Shchedish, and it's 1 day after. Like, you know, you ever heard the Skver such a Torah?
No, I'm telling you, whatever you went through, I went in the same boat. We actually went in the same car together to many Farbrengen.
But really? No, I went with the father.
It's not the.
That was something.
It's not the first time you guys met.
So
No, because she needed an electrician in the past.
huh?
No.
Actually, I remember your father said once. His father used to come to the Farbrengens. We used to drive together to the city for the Farbrengens, for Muncie. So his father, I asked his father once, "Why do you come to this Farbrengens?" His father was officially a Skver Chassid. He used to come to all the Farbrengens. He said, "I live in Skver. It's a heilige Stadt. Daven, we learn. But yesterday, like tomorrow, like the next day, like yesterday. So I know I come to the Rebbe. There's something new. A new lift, a new chadish. It's a lift. It's an anaya world. What it was yesterday is anaya.
You get CPR every day.
I love this.
Actually, I have a first cousin. He's Ganz. Lives here in Muncie. He told me yesterday a story. He said he's a Nissan and chassid. No. Says once in a while,
Get your
I
mind
went
around
to family chasanas in the city, whatever. I decided the way home, I drive through Queens. I stop over the oil. Says I went with my wife. I stopped over the oil. And he says I went into the oil. And like people do it, they go to watch the video. I come out. It's the chamesh. I come out to the video. I'm stunned. The Rebbe says he's 49, he's almost turning 50, and is contemplating of retiring. What? The Rebbe goes over in 60, yeah, 70, yeah. Hayoim la soisam. The Rebbe kocht. You have to learn jede Regel davon nutzen. We're here. Mocher le kabel scharim to retire is for tomorrow. Neulam abad. Do is aveda. The Rebbe's kocht. So he tells me. So I asked the Kamesh. Is gedacht for the time? Not anymore, he says. Not anymore. But the other day before I had a discussion with my wife, yes. This is not anymore. This is Gila Likus. This was Mamish. I went in. So, but coming back to, I remember the Rechter who came to Babas. Whatever. So first the main arguments, this, whatever, and then he took a sikha, a Rashi sikha. And he said, was chepet is a pachin kitab? Was will it then? So Rashi said, zwei pshot. And in Parshas Kisisa, Rashi said first this pshat, and the Dovid Acher was the second pshat. And the same Rashi in Vayakel brings the same two pshatim, but there he says the opposite. He says pshat number 2 first. And the Rebbe both of them, Sharichus God, he says, what is he? He said this first, that first. He says he had such tzoros to try to explain this Yidden. The Emunah was the Rebbe hot in Arash. There's that. Arash had gesagt of her. So I said, why did he say this pshat first and this pshat second? And the next part he said the same two pshat and the dafke fakir. It's dafke do is the gay as the Rebbe's Emunah. And I always chazed this lady had it to me many times. I think my son told me Slavatiski, he was a Talmud from Shlomo Zalman. Kol Taylor. Shlomo Zalman Erebach went once to the Koisel, and he saw all about Chachazit putting on film, on a heat. So he stopped, and he said, the Welt hat a Toys on Lubavitch. The Welt believes that Lubavitch Rebbe is the Christian Maimon. So he talks about the Lakus, and the Eibishter, and he believes about Mashiach every second, he talks about Mashiach. So they missed the main point. Lubavitch Rebbe is a Munah in every Yid. Gleibt that der Yid will legen Twill bei Emes. Das ist ein Pneum, ist der Zäune der Chefze bei Emes dann. der Psaak für die schlimme Sachen. Das ist so gesagt, der Berem legt sich ab, als heint ist Dienstag, Erb und Schöidisch. Es ist ein Punkt, Paschus, Beschalach, es ist ein Punkt. Das ist als Gochel, Joine, Prat. Der Aron, als muss er noch viel alles. Leute, was an Wochen. Er kocht sich in dem Ingen mehr wie ihr geht in Nigling, Lomnes und alle Sachen. Nein, Punkte, welche Tag, ich weiß, so ist gekommen. Der hat uns gegeben als eine Reichkeit, der Wünschlein ist mit uns in der Prat. Es kommt zur Zeit zu ihr Reise, wie man lernt Teile, wie guckt an der Rasse. Oilom Shono, Nefesh, und alle Jahren, wie der Ebenste ist dort, Bechol, Prat, Bechol Rege, kocht mit dem, lernt mit dem. I remember, I gave out Pashke Willen against they wrote Svarim never called books, whatever. One of those Svarim books they wrote, Litzonis, they made the Litzonis. The Lubavitch is coming out with a new Miftzah. There was Miftzah, came with a new Miftzah, they made Litzonis. They're going to go out with a helicopter, and they're going to throw down, they're going to give by Mechrenim for people. So people should have Mechrenim.
Good idea.
That was the Litzonis. That's the Lubavitch. That's not the Rebbe was Farbrengen with them. It was Farbrengen. The Rebbe was crying. They was so hurt. This was in Gimel, something like that. The Rebbe was crying. Or maybe this was Lnavad even still before when they made it by Teddy. Maybe it was Lnavad. So the Rebbe said, like he said, if I was taken is. Well, after taken. Maybe taken. You know, they hebben de week getan, dan machen Litzonis von der Lubavitch. Machen Litzonis von der Mitzvah. Verstehst? Aber die geben, ja, wir geben bei Mechrein, und sagt, jedem keine Mitzvah, es ist eine Mitzvah. Von was da kann ich? Ich gebe ein Prat auf der Mitzvah. Geleuchten an der Kuss. Jede Mitzvah, jede Nekude, jede Prat. An die kann er raschen nach uns. And then they wrote to Metal Tzonis how they say the Geonis of the Rebbe. And he writes a Horus, everything that he writes, Marim Akoimus. So when the Rebbe writes Bereshis Bore Lakim, what does it say in the bottom? Bereshis Al So they say, oh, the Geonis, the Metal Geonis, Bereshis Al The Rebbe was so hurt. The Rebbe came to Shangin from Zankar, never spoke about it, when they made Tzonis. The Rebbe said, ich sage nicht, ein eigenes Wort ist gar nicht. Ein Wort besteht nicht in Teilen ist gar nicht. So if you say a Pasuk, and you say it's Bereshis Aleph, or Debus is a Teilen Messina. Und ich habe gesagt, so the Rebbe writes. So Bereshis Aleph. Und von dem machen sie die Zeit. Ich habe gesagt, die Zachachma sind mit Zeichel, mit Landes. Das ist der Meister. Der Meister. My base Chabad, suffering. He was a snagger. He used to come. I used to come every Shabbos for years. He had a sickness. I don't know what. And he needed blood transfusion. I don't know what it was. He came to Good Sam. We were a few blocks away. So we would shout down the Shabbos bus, eat by us, and Farbrengen with us, whatever. And he would never tell me why he's there. He's coming for another Yit episode. It was a secret that he's got. I can say on my Agorish, it's a brochen on the show, but Emerson Litvak, Farbrengen Litvak.
That was his illness.
Huh?
That was his illness.
What?
That was his illness.
Farbrengen Litvak. A kluge gever man, we had arguments and fights. And probably all his life he ate only by Chassidim, and in the Borough Park and Flatbush every night probably ate by another Chassid. But he had tight.
That's how.
One day he came to me and he said, I want to prove to you, he says, that Lubavitch, dumb gever, it's just dumb people. The real guys are the Litvakas. The real Yidden are the Litvakas. So he says, everybody knows that in Russia, they suffered very much from the Bichalach. They came out with this new, the reformers and the communists, whatever, that these books. It's a Charangi Chapni Yeshivas. And Litvische Wochen gefallen with fliegen. They ended up and they just left. And the Kostische Bichelach. And they left. One after the other. It was mamish. We have technology now. They had the Bichelach. It wasn't technology. That's Bichelach. As the tzaddikim used to say, Bichel is Rosh Tevis, Kol Be'er Lo Yeshua. To the extent, you know, the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab writes in is it called the Tzara of the Rebbe Rashab? It's in Sefer. What is it called the Sefer? Huh? No. The Rebbe Rashab. You write over there. He writes to the Rebbe. Whatever. Macht sicher. There's good to Chavere. Chalila v'chalila, Bichel should never come to his hand. If I'm not mistaken, it could be, it says over there also called the Elo Yeshua. Not sure if it says it over there. It says that Bichel comes in the Achgim, Redewing Arebe, Gebäuden Arebe. Achgim, a Bichel comes in the slow.
Where did the Rebbe Shabbat?
It's in the Chanech Lana. That you should be careful on our, it says the name of the Friedrich Rebbe, but you should make sure that so good to Chavere, Chalila nicht kein schlecht Chavere. We maken zeker dat Bichel kipt is aan kijken, because this is so this guy tells me. So the yeshiva, Litvish yeshiva, some gehad asach verbands. One called after the other. Bichel had zich reingegaft to the yeshiva, went from one friend to the other, one after the other, left, went. They called it the gymnasius. I don't know what they called the gymnasius. You know, went to the college, whatever. He says Lubavitch had also karbanos. Can't deny it. Lubavitch had karbanos, but not very few. He sailed to karbanos. So I look at him and I say, Avram's the Chamaisa listed. So what's your proof? What's your proof? Chamaisa. So he looks at me and he says, Du bist also dumm wie alle Lubavitch. You're as dumb as all the Lubavitch. You don't get it? He says, no, I don't get it. He says, I can't, you guys are dumb. He says, no, what do you see in the story? He says, you see, a Litvische Bocher is a kluger Bocher, aber das! Gleibt den Eibischten, weil gehört als Kabbalah von der Mama. Zet a Bichel, und das steht anders. Und das steht a Philosophy verkehrt. A kluger Geber, man! Los timmer alles. Und Babitsch ist dummer Geber, eingehackt in den Kopf rein, an ihr Bar will jeder, beheimert so Jisse gemacht, als ich gelebt in Nächten, wie morgen, wie heint, und wir kennen gar nicht eingehackt in den Kopf rein. Dummer Geber. I went crazy when I heard that. I went crazy when I heard that. And I'll tell you.
How did he explain that he was still from?
Huh?
How did he explain that he was still from?
He wasn't a Russian.
He didn't know where to get one.
So
That's why he was sad he didn't have the book.
my tata was on Fleck me sagen, my tata is a Kalabavitch, so Fleck me sagen, allemaal, ik heb de Kabbalah, als bij jedem is nagen, ligt dat zelen maar.
Really?
My father always told us to tell
That's
us.
good for Zogen, the other is not going to be Zuspalten. Das ist nicht gefunden. Das ist nicht
Dus je vinden het wel. Al Capone, so een andere wetter, Oivet, zegt, philosophy, klug, dat is een goed machine. Maar dat is het CEO achter.
How do you take care of this guy?
We had a lot of fun.
The one thing that I know about philosophy and act is that it's only a nikah. It's only a nikah, and it only causes bad
Only
things.
in?
A nikah l'chitzayim.
Yeah.
It only causes having a geschmack in something that's not MS is definitely going to be a yinika. It's not going to stop there.
Of course. So I remember I had two children who married or who got engaged a week after the other. Weißt du was? Ich bin because ich habe 2 Wochen und dann jetzt a Hosten.
What is this recent?
Sag den Namen.
Beziehen und schnell zusammen.
Beziehen, Ben.
Bela Rivka.
Bela Rivka, schnell zusammen Bela Rivka. Yeshaya Levi Ben's Shoshim Leia.
Amen.
Alles allem Shidduchim
Bekar
Bekorim.
Mamish.
Chaim.
I did 2 Shidduchim in 2 weeks apart. So I called the Björn. Actually, I didn't call him hard to call. I called Leah, I called his wife. She made sure to put him on a suit and make sure to knip him in the bud with the behalten. And he came to the L'chaim. The L'chaim, I asked him to say a few words. He refused that. So the Bochen the Farbrengen, I was the Daintim Gedudak, Daintim Gedudak. I'm going to talk about it with you. Ich habe eine Studie gemacht. Daintim Gedudak. I decided, you know what? I told him this story. I told him the story. With this was not it, okay? Oh, you he laughed. He didn't say anything. 2 weeks later, I made another. This time, I called him direct. I called his wife. I picked up the phone. Picking up is one thing. He would say hello, hello. He would say, but when you put down, he wouldn't know. So all of a sudden, it's silent. He's not saying goodbye, whatever. Just on my head. It was silent. So
following the signal, no?
So I called him out and I said, "Dovid on Dovid." Before I started talking, before I said a word, he started saying, "On Dovid, die meiste dich werden gold! Die meiste dich werden gold!" He was like crazy. You have the sugar with this slice. So if I explained to him that meiste that he heard by the L'chaim. But no, but to me it was an unbelievable thing. It was an eye opener. Like I say, when I came to the Lubavitch, like in the Satmar, they had a lot of kindness against the Buddhism also. Even though the health of the Friedrich Rebbe, but he exaggerated. He wanted to bring Yiddishkeit in the world, so he made stories and. So the Mela, you know, and the Friedrich Rebbe, you know, the lange brief, you know, schreibt er Sachen in Yonim, was snagged them and getan, and it sounded, this was like, the Sefer came alive.
Yeah.
Because they haven't seen the stag and they missed the event. That was like, the Buddha Mama was stupid. I never saw it in my life before. So you got to the Sefer, it came alive. Yeah. But Al Kapanim,
the Rebbe was medayik on every letter of the Friedrich Rebbe.
Exactly.
Like a Rashi.
So the Emunah the Rebbe gave us in Torah, in Ayid. Emunah Ayid. So Emunah Ayid meint nicht an andere Yid, Emunah meint in mir allein. Ich glaube, der Bacher in Yeshiva, der Rebbe hat Emunah in Ganz, glaube ich, so. In a freie Yid to listen in St. Louis, in Anchorage. Und ich weiß so, als ist great zu anfangen legen zu filmen, ist great, jetzt hat es am Sprache. As we said before. Was tracht der Rebbe von uns allein? What does the Rebbe think of us? Ah, Yaski. Yeah. When I opened the Chabad house, I have munitz. Is there not Mainzer? A Mainzer. When I opened the Chabad house in Safrin, first Shabbos, I made a Kiddush. The Kiddush, I told everybody to introduce
AA program.
There were 10 people sitting around. Say your feelings, what your connection to Yiddishkeit, to Chabad, whatever. The first guy I picked up was first guy sitting to my right, his name was Mr. Pellis. He's not alive anymore. So Mr. Pellis says, "Well, Ganz, I don't speak in the limelight. I am probably speaking up for me, please. Okay? The Tzayne Shalom is out later. So everybody spoke. When everybody finished, he said, "You know what, Rabbi, I was inspired. I want to say something." And Mr. Pellis stood up and he said, "Once upon a Friday, well, Lubavitchers do what they do. So there was a mother, a father, and a 3-year-old kid walking down Fifth Avenue Library. The landmark in Manhattan, it's a block wide with the marble stairs. It's a whole, you know. They're walking down. The Lubavitchers, 2 Lubavitcher Bacher, 15, 16, walked down the stairs. These kids will never know what they did. Never. Never in their life. They walked down the stairs and they spotted this little girl and they asked her, "Are you Jewish?" She smiled proudly and she said, "Yes." So they asked her, "Are you lighting Shabbos candles?" She said, "Me, little kid, 3-year-old, me Shabbos candles." She said, "My mother, when she's not busy, when we make the Shabbos meal, then she likes." So they took out Neshek and they said that the Lubavitcher Rebbe encourages every girl from the age of 3. It's such a darkness in the world, this will increase light. And he gave her Neshek. And these Vacharim left for good forever. They could be you, they could be you, they could be you. You ever went to Manhattan and so on? They could be anybody else.
Probably buried.
Nobody can't erase it. But the point of this, Mr. Palace continues. And this little girl took it very seriously. She never missed a Friday night without lighting Shabbos candles since then. And then he finished off saying, she's now a mother of 6. And she's the mikveh lady in the 5 towns. I want to double check this. I never double checked what she got married to. I don't know her married name. She's a mother of 6. She lives in the 5 towns. And she is the mikveh lady. And then he started choking. He couldn't talk any further. And he said, and that little girl is my daughter. So I said, Mr. Palace, that story you wanted to keep back from us, is that the story you didn't want to tell? It's not printed in Krachabad, it's not printed in Beis Mashiach in any place. Emerson Maisa, I heard it Maisa Shahoya.
No, seriously, the guy in Muncie had a heart attack. For 20 years, he's living every Chanukah with the 50 Lichel Maisa, and he just found out it's not true, and it's verified.
Who is that?
Oh, the Lubavitcher guy, Balshana.
No, you should know.
It's a real story.
You should know. I have a guy who lives in Aron.
They say people research this.
There's Bamberg, Chaim. There's Chaim. What is this guy with a big writer from London?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know. Chaim Rappaport. Chaim Rappaport has a shorter. Not in the Bamberger. Big Tommy Chacham lives here in Aron next to me. He told me. He told me once about the 5th Lichtel guy. I told him.
What is the 5th Lichtel?
Famous long story. Too long for tonight.
Tell the story sounds so good. Yes, we'll find it for you.
So I told him the 5th Lichtel.
He should
be laughing at the story. People don't believe it's happening.
The lady
I know what he's talking about. I know the guy in London. I spoke to him.
Everybody's
I know the guy.
Listen, Cole was saying the
myth is not this guy now
the myth is a myth. It's Amazon. After we broke the whole
Start again. Start the whole thing again.
Oh, I know this story.
Can I say it in your name? Or the guys, I can say it in your name?
No.
I can say it in your name?
Not in his
He
name.
said my name. His name is Bamberger. I didn't research it. But Bamberger told me the story. I know the person.
Could be part of the story is true.
like any
London part is true.
But Al Capone.
Which year? You said which year it was? The son asked it.
Was that London, Chicago? Toronto, was free gesagt der ganze gemeinte letzte day story by the way.
Yeah. And the English the shooter is, I was the Rebbe to
doesn't matter.
Oh, Yama for a Yiddish skin.
Listen, Mr. Yossi, why are you not clapping? I want to know, what do you care?
Shut up.
Why is it bothering? It's very hurtful to say that, you know.
Okay, you want why wife Jacobson's up the road?
So gegangen der andere Weg, by the way, Yossi. And we were talking, we were medayik, that in Toshin Mem Beis, the Rebbe gesagt, nein, Mem Gimel. And I dachte, Mem Dal. And Dal, the Rebbe gesagt, Kachagat. Throw him out also. Very much.
Look, we're not here to embarrass anybody, but the fact is, we're here.
So Yudalev ist in Jeden, der Rebbe uns Mazaki gewähnt, in derselbe Zeit ist der Rebbe uns Machaya. Because der Rebbe hat uns gegeben a mandate. Der Rebbe gibt uns a mandate.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Why are you laughing
Story
now?
of him today.
Why are you laughing now?
No, because I remember the Milo of Bush. That's why I want you to push into it. Hang around by the toilet.
So we're gonna go back and forth the whole night? So far, I embarrassed you once, you embarrassed me twice.
I embarrassed you. What embarrassed you? I embarrassed you.
He didn't have the book learning in Telstone. He didn't have the time difference, so he called him.
You can't comment
It's before himself.
Green available.
He hears that it will come up.
Anytime you want to come here,
So it's not going to appreciate it. I appreciate it. He called me for maybe 5 minutes or whatever. And then he asked him this question, he answers. 2 weeks later, he got a letter. So Moshe asked him for his information, his address, and later he got a letter from Shlomo, you told me from the price per minute that you have to. It's like this. He made you wait for 10 minutes. Right, so upshot from his kach v'kach. Sent him a check for this amount. Pay for the 10 minutes that he made.
I'm not Nossim Malke. Atzmus und Hus und
I heard another story about the prank call. You heard about the prank call story? There's 2 buckers who were like doing funny business. They would call the Dailam at night and harass him. So he calls up His wife answers. He said he's sleeping. Is it urgent? It's urgent. He wakes up and he starts asking a ridiculous question. And Moshe realizes it's a joke. So he asks him, "What yeshiva are you in?" He eventually squeezes out, "What yeshiva? And what sugi are you learning?" He didn't know what sugi is. So he figured it out, asking questions, sort of ideas, figuring out little details what sugi is learning. He ended up learning for a few hours on the phone.
What is this explanation after doing it?
That's
It's not Kippur now. We're going to do Mechila Kippur, Kapar, and Slicha about. Been saying it all right.
I don't think you had enough of the water.
I'm in this group.
Hello.
I'm in this
One is
group,
very
and I just
interesting.
got very positive.
You should know.
We know Indian, we know about each other. And that I know that he was Suroda.
3/4 of the Torah is all about Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Jede zweite
Always
Mitzvah,
have that question.
jede zweite Mitzvah Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Was ist der Teich von Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim? Pashtus is the Weg wie die Welt lernen, Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim means a zeicher to the fact that we're standing already at the other side of Mitzrayim. Came out already. The Rebbe is gemacht listen. 10 plagues, and he makes the Kriyas Yamsuf, and we're holding after it. And we dürfen danken auf the Nissan, was hat passiert. We don't vergessen, we don't an a coffee table, and we shouldn't forget of the gewaltige Nissan that happened. That's the Taich.
So you're saying while we were there, this is what we're remembering.
You get it. That's the little bit of an answer in Matzazu. The little question: Why do we say it didn't have time to rise? Because we're telling the story of the.
The Nukuda is.
Burgers, Mike Burgers,
Matzazu.
We hebben morgen gehad een buigswaarde. Een verkeerde buigswaarde. We hebben gehad een buigswaarde als de medder zegt als Ilu hoye idea Ruven. If Ruven would have only known that the Torah would write on him, as was the man Hatzilois, me yoder la shiva elochim. Ruvain told the brothers, what did he tell the brothers?
I went.
Don't let's kill him down. That's not kill him with that. He did political correctness. He did diplomacy.
He was woke.
And the Torah tells us, but really what his machshava was, the man Hatzilois. So the Medrash, if Reuven would have known that the Torah get made on a family, Emes, his kavanah was Laman Hatzelos in the Yodai, he would have taken him on his shoulder and he'd walk home with him to his father. Hert? Or this is the Medrash. Zegt een andere werte, there was a battle. There were brothers that didn't take it. They would get past the Chayim, and he was scared to say against them. So he had to do political movements. But if he would have known that the Torah gave the Meir Zayin, as ein Kavoni Gebel Man Hatzelo Yisrael, that would have given the courage that he would have picked them up, fight the brothers, and take him home. Maar dat doet wegen Ruvain, which is Reish's Oine van Yaakov Avinu. Koichi v'Reish's Oine. Maar dat voor Ruvain bij Yaakov. He was scared. It made a difference to him. If the Torah would schreiben mal from alle Jahren, alle willen wissen what his kavanah was, then I do it. If the Torah doesn't write it, then I can't. I have to do it politically. Is that what Ruvain was thinking? Maar dat voor Ruvain bij Yaakov. If you say het gehalte met die gebriders am gehalte en Chayav Misa, okay. But the Ruvain was machla that is not Chayav Misa. And the Torah is a mate, Laman Hatze Lois and the other. Why didn't you pick him up and take him home?
I had that question all my life.
But listen to this. It's not the only question we have. We have many questions. How come Pare was stupid?
His heart became hard.
As a kid, how hard could a heart become? Yeah. How hard could a heart become?
Every 2 months,
he knows he's dying.
The guy said I could stop anytime I want, but I stopped many times.
But he's not getting hurt from smoking right now. He feels it.
A man.
Yeah, he said he's going to stop. He stopped. He got better, and then he.
The Mitzrayim, they said themselves that our whole place is getting destroyed because of you.
Say something else.
And wees klaar, aan morgen starten alle begeren. He knows every 9 times whatever Moshe Rabbeinu promised happened to the T. Happened to the T. En lacht zich eens wissen. Hij lacht zich uit. Every kid in Cheder looks at it. And that's what we did. They saw Christianity. They saw the San Marcus. En ze zeggen, es gibt een man van de hemel, man macht da Brache, man heute lechen man Shamayim. Not mit der Ohr, ein neuer Brot, das kann ich nicht gesehen, ganze Leben. Moshe Rabbeinu sagt nicht überlassen, der darf überlassen. Als kommt Shabbos, darf er darf ja rausgehen.
I know I have
Die Shilas, in million Shilas, in every prat.
Just let me know when you're going to make it personal and...
No,
you let me visit when you're going to go personal now and I'll go out.
Don't worry, it's coming soon.
He didn't have the Aron that day. He was in a rush, whatever. So he went up to his boiling. That's why.
The man was there in front of them. The man was there in front of
missing the
them.
Aron. Listen to this boiling.
So he quite literally they internalize it every day.
The Teretz says the kasha is a moedike kasha, and we have kashas on Sanchedev and on Paroi and on Adosam Aviram and everybody. But the Shaila is azor. The Chilik is azor. But think of it. You have to fully cup. The reason we have kashas on them is for one reason. We don't realize that they were standing in a play. We look at them as in a play. Can you imagine? It's going to be Chalamoit, a big play. Race was the intern.
Yosef Chai.
And here's the play, and there's the main player who's supposed to go on top of, who has this most beautiful, heart-wrenching song, who's going to poetically singing, and he is going to make the drama of the whole play. And Mitamol, he comes up there, and he decides, sits down, nothing. Imagine the kasha people have. Are you crazy? You paid $10,000 for this. Or you killed the whole play. Are you Meshuggah? In other words,
how is it a play?
In other words, this guy had nothing else what to do with it. One job to do, make sure to make this drama. He maced, they failed. He killed the whole thing. We look at Yidden who came out of Mitzrayim as if this is a play. There's a group of 600,000 people who have to come out of Mitzrayim. They have to make it to Matan Torah. They have to get Matan Torah. They are the players of this game. And how dare you, Dasan Vavira, or Meraglim, you ruined the whole thing. You killed it. You made an eagle. On me, I don't have this child. You know why? I'm not a player in anything. I have a wife, I have children, I have a mortgage to pay. The tuition is crazy high, and they're raising now they're raising it even, and I have all kinds of other cravings and other things.
You need a shoulder too.
No. So in other words, do I look at myself? I'm writing a Chumash now. Do I look at myself as a person in every move I make? I'm just a human being. I have my challenges, like everybody has challenges. And I'm get gering, I'm get schwer. These were the Yidden in Mitzrayim. Dostan Ravirim, they had wives, they had children. They didn't think that they're writing a Chumash. Ili hoye yedea Ruven, the Torah would write Leman Hatzeloisa. And Ruven, not Shadi, he was thinking about the limelight or what people would think about him. If he would know the Torah would write his machshava this way or that way. A Chumash is being written now based on, is he saving Yosef or not? Boy, would it be a difference.
Chasana, what is it?
Exactly. All our kashas we have is we look at that, we don't look at them as people. They were the people of the book. They are there to make Yitzias Mitzrayim happen and Bia Zoretz happen. That whole thing was about that. Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim mit dem Pshat, mir darfen sich hereinstellen heim. Wir sind jetzt in Goles. Behaltet. Vayamenuam, oder to trachten will Shamuel Moshe Mikoitze Ruach to go through everything what they did. Was that Zeichel not Achra Yitzia. Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim, we are in Goles now. Und der Rebbe kocht und kocht und kocht und kocht und kocht, wir dürfen nach Hause gehen. Every second. Man kann nicht bleiben da. Das ist der Rebbe. Und davon kommen dann noch aus dem Malke mit sein bepasst, das Lachet Chies am Meister. Der Tag ist nicht stille Mabon, nicht geluid. Malke, noch aus dem Malke. Darf sein Mashiach befeuer Mamash. And yes, we are on that play. We're standing on stage. So every mitzvah, every Frat Seder nach Pesach, was der Alte Rebbe sagt, and the Alte Rebbe adds the two words, Chaye, Vodam, Liris, as Atzme, Ki'ilu Hu Yotzo me Mitzrayim, meint us as was, and do such Ki'ilu Hu Yotzo, that you went through all those Nisyanis, and you saw how bitter it was, and you saw the Cheshach Kafel and Chuppah. And you yourself saw that in 1 second came Moshe Rabbeinu and Iber Gidrai, and Pisum Yovel Acholo, it changed the whole Metzias overnight. Und das darf man nicht leben, bechal Yedoin Bedoin, bechal Yoim V'Yoim, überleben und leben wie der Rebbe lebt von ihm für die every second. I heard once from Ramesh Kohen.
Who's he?
The player, Spieler Kohen?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yossi Kohen, it's his father.
Chemish.
Huh?
Chemish.
I don't know exactly. That's his role, yeah.
Yeah.
You could see him when he comes to all the tissues, he sits behind the Rebbe with his great Bieber. He was a Rosh Hashiva.
At this point, we already made peace. We already. I offended you. You offended me.
Come on, I never offended you.
No, I meant we're all good.
So he
didn't offend you yet.
So
I can't ask. I can't ask.
He was a Rosh Hashiva. He was a Rosh Hashiva and told the Saharan. He was a Rosh Hashiva and told the Saharan, and he was a Lubavitcher Chassid. So he used to come every Tishrei. He'd come to the Rebbe, and he Farbrengen once with us in Williamsburg. Huh?
The right hand.
He came about way before us.
Give it the right hand.
Huh?
You have to give it the right hand with chesed.
He was. He was.
Ari, he's just making sure you're not going to withdraw over Pesach.
So
what happened?
I saw a whole conversation about like what Rabbi Ganz.
Can I kiss you?
I'm worried about the guy who's coming
that was father.
He's not going to know who you are. He's not going to know. He's going to take it personally. He's going to go marry Shiksa because we meet them.
The other guy, I felt it didn't happen.
Sorry for that guy. I'm just saying.
he'll be mean to himself because you're mean to him.
Sitting over there. Talking. I see him on the right side. I don't understand what's happening. Not on the right side.
It's your dog listening. He's out of the kingdom.
Hi.
Rabbi Ganz, I thought you were going to say that, I was thinking while you were talking that in Kaviyachol, the way the Yidden in the Chumash didn't know that they're a part of the Torah about Teres Chaim, and they're living their life in a way, and they're doing what they know what they have to do. We have to also behave the same way.
That's exactly what I was saying.
And not only that, we take are because in V'chol Banayach Lumadi Hashem, when we're building the world, we are those people. We are the same thing.
The Rebbe says, we are building the Geula. Mamish is every part of the world. Doesn't talk Zeichen and see Mitzrayim. We should start living the same way. It didn't look, it didn't seem like anything.
So how could they make a mistake? It's not they, it's you. It's me. And they're not making mistakes. That's.
Farbrengen with us after we became Lubavitch, a few guys is Williamsburg, so we came to Williamsburg. Farbrengen with us. Who? Avram Hershkoyen.
Yossi
Cohen's father. He came every tissue for 20 days. No, he came every tissue to the Rebbe. He came, when he was in, he came to us to Farbrengen. So,
who arranged this for Farbrengen?
This was incognito. This was all secret. Maybe it's just because they don't.
No, it's his father.
Could be his father.
No, his father. Sure.
How did you get invited to the secret Farbrengen?
How we got invited? It was made for us.
How found you that you're interested? How did they?
No, we have some connections.
You interview him any day.
So
Make it up. As he goes.
Was one of the shiurim in a hotel room with mirrors?
Okay.
I heard there was once.
He's trying to get us story.
So,
Once heard of that. You heard that story?
the whole Farbrengen was about the Bolak Sicha. The Bolak Sicha of the Rebbe. About the Geula. The Rebbe's Koch and Bolak.
The base Lamed Koch?
No. The Rebbe's Koch is the Rambam says that.
He said the Sicha?
Yeah, he.
By the Farbrengen?
Yeah. Kocht about that Sicha. The Rebbe Koch and the Rambam says that anybody who doesn't believe in Mashiach, not only denies Nevi'im, he denies Teiras Moshe. The other Rambam brings out how in Teira, when Moshe Rabbeinu talks Dorach Kechem Yankov, and the soul goes on Dovid and Mashiach. So the Rebbe has a whole sikh about
Push
it.
the button, please.
No, we just have to increase in light.
Moshe, can you please push my button?
Yes, we just have to increase in light.
The Rebbe has a sikh, there is a moire dike sikh about Teire, the shleimus of Teire, gets a choiz, B'sham Nasel of Nech, mitzvahs Nitzanecha. Without Mashiach, we're missing 3/4 of the mitzvahs.
Right, that is
The Tachlis, so Mashiach is not a Pesach. And with Vias, the gate come and bliss, and beautiful days are coming, utopian times. This is shleimus of Teire, we don't have to... Shleimus of Teire, it's a choiz for you, I remember the Rashi gekocht and says, till now the Sikha was not printed. No. The Snaga didn't believe I couldn't say it's an apikoidis. Now the Sikha is printed. He says, right? It's printed. He was like,
changes everything.
Yeah, he was against. But then he told us the story. He told us that he went amongst the Yechidus, standing in line for Yechidus. Behind him was a guy with long hair till his waist. And he said, I started making cheshbon that it happened many times in Yechidus that they didn't stop the line. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. The Rebbe said, we'll continue tomorrow. It happened. So whoever had an appointment was the night, had to come back next night. He says, I started thinking, this guy is not coming back tomorrow.
At least.
So he said, he went over to this guy, and I asked him, would you mind that I switch with you? I'm not ready, I'm not prepared yet, I need more time. Would you go in before me?
Who said?
And from Hershkoyen told me that he asked this guy, can you go in before me? So the guy was delighted. For what's this? He didn't have to prepare much. He said, yeah. And so he did. He went in. He says when he came out, the guy was white like the ceiling. And he was looking for the plum cake. He couldn't find the doorknob. So I don't know what happened. Did the line stop that night or from Hesh didn't go in, or after he came out he asked them. I don't remember that part of the story. But he told me, I asked this guy, what are you so floating? What happened to you? So he says, I came in, spoke to the Rebbe, and I think he said he spoke to the Rebbe in Yiddish. They were Yiddishists, they know Yiddish. I'm not 100% sure, but and he was a scientist, and he spoke to the Rebbe, and he says the Rebbe was up on every new pamphlet that they had in science. Every new pamphlet they had, the Rebbe was. He says that didn't blow me away. He says, I know the Schneersons, they have the huge minds. He goes to the bathroom, he reads up on the pamphlets, whatever. That's not a big deal. But then I asked him, I want to go into business. I need advice or a blessing. So the Rebbe told me, I don't advise you to go to business. So he said, not being a Lubavitcher Chassid, I had the audacity, and I asked him, why not? Why not? I want to go to business. So the Rebbe told me why. He says, in the course of this, appointment, the correspondence, I realized that your family is very rich. They're very well to do. They have enough money for quite a few years. And since Mashiach is coming any moment, you need to be prepared. So why waste time? Go make money. So go to yeshiva for a year or two. And then, So he said, he continued, not being a Lubavitcher, the Lubavitcher, the Rebbe said. So I told the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, ich meine es ernst, I want to go to business. Mach nicht kein Witz. Why are you telling me this fairy tale stories? Mashiach coming. Mach nicht kein Witz. Ich said, I'm doing business, wait. He says, at that moment, that's what everybody told me, he says, that moment there's two beautiful, smiling, lovely eyes turned into two spears. And they pierced through my kishkis. They pierced my kishkis. And he said, bei uns ist Mashiach kein Witz nicht.
What?
Bei uns ist Mashiach kein Witz. Not a joke.
Not a joke.
We live with this. We live with this every day, in every moment. And with that, the Yechidus ended, and that was gone out. He says, that made me crazy. I knew the Frisbees in Yerushalayim who believe in these things. It's fanatics and,
Science.
So up in science. This man is so smart, so up in everything in the world. And das ist der Rebbe, das ist der Rebbe, das ist Malka. In Giluyim, first of all, every yeshiva today that or schools for sure, how do they teach? Does the sun go around the earth or earth goes around the sun?
Sun goes around the earth.
Huh?
Earth goes around.
Yeah, you all teach the earth goes around. You all teach that.
Which school?
90% of schools teach you outside of the Bible.
When you're learning Mayim Shalanu, the sun goes around the earth. Just there's two opinions.
Yeah. So, but the Rebbe is the only
coming up soon.
But the only one.
Moshe Friedman.
Yeah.
You ready for Rabbi Ganz share in a full demonstration Kiddush Chodesh in the Rambam?
There are better ones today than me.
No, forget about better ones. We're talking about the original.
Moshe's always ready.
So,
Moshe, you ready?
So there's the only Rebbe in the world.
Rabbi Ganz, you invited back.
Forget. The only Rebbe in the world. The only Rebbe in the world. Yeah, that went to college, who has a degree, who worked for the Navy, with an engineer. Yeah, you would think that he is the one that he would, not phase. Or Achid Pasha, the answers in the letters. But Achid Pasha, you state that Rambam Azoidas. So God doesn't touch him. He says, if anybody believes in science, science is fiction. It's theory.
So can come another scientist and changing the world. The Torah is changing nicht.
Torah is Leubes Chalfen.
Leubes Chalfen.
This
is one thing we haven't agreed tonight.
I never said I agree with that. I already said it.
Well, I hope so.
If the guy comes to me, who tells me that chesed is real? Matzos means giving tzedakah. Only the guy Shnari, the guy Shnari never wants to give me money, he wants to take. So that I have to see.
Rabbi Ganz, I hope I'm not being rude, but my friend over here, he told me that he's kind of ashamed to ask, but he really wants to know if it's possible.
Friend.
He asked me to say that his name.
How did it that you came to Lubavitch? What was your first? What exactly happened? What was the story?
The shaila is how come all the Saturn didn't come to Lubavitch?
Do a gem interview now and put up the
he said a story before. He's from the smart. He's from the smart Satmar. We're back to Talmudim. The smart ones are read a bit.
What's the story with Wachter, like the inside story?
I'll tell you a story, but you won't like it.
I what?
I'll tell you a story. I'll put on a bulletproof vest.
Why do you think I'm not gonna like it?
Let's hear it.
You guys are like, we're so friends since the right to cry,
We're just sitting on the same side of the table.
You go ahead, the story.
At least
We don't want to miss anything.
A ganze Nacht verbracht du Ananas in Malta. Ananas in Malta. Was Mazel gewesen. Wie soll du aus der Klub haben? Ja, ganze Nacht redest du von dem und fragt dir weiter. Was hast du geklimmt da?
Kijk, we zijn er gek dan als man.
Ja, nog einmal.
Ja, so jij de meester.
Ja, zie, kom.
And Mendel Wechter went through a lot whenever they, all still doing whatever. So he was hidden in Morristown for the summer. He was hidden away in Morristown. Huh?
Hidden away? What does that mean, hidden away?
Morristown was a monastery.
They literally wanted to kill him. So, he was in the hospital for a few weeks. And
Witness
he came out.
protection.
So he needed protection. So he went to Morristown.
For teaching Hasidus, you had to be killed?
He doesn't know the history.
They tried. What do you mean? What's your shiloh called?
What? They beat him up.
The first time they beat him up, but then they wanted to actually kill him.
But they were saying what happened. Isn't the whole story?
So the Rebbe suggested they should move to Eretz Yisrael. So this was Sunday, Parshas Lech Lecha, I think. So there were no dollars yet. The Rebbe would give nickels and dimes before Mincha for the kids. So him and his wife went to get a bracha before she wanted to check out. And you see how life over there, whatever, and then she'd come back and bring the family. He couldn't stay in Stem 70, he stayed there. It was dangerous, he was scared. So he stayed till Mincha, he stayed Mincha, right, he came. He stayed by Jimmy Gurari, or Zalman Gurari. Zalman Gurari, if anybody knows, was a Gurari.
Was it what?
He was a Gurari, he was a... So Zalman asked him a shayla. And a Mendel Wechter. Von was ist die ganze Welt gestorben? Where is everyone? Als geëindigd van hem. Where is the whole world? This was already in the land. They had already worked in the world for 30 years. Who's the world? Mendel Wechter is not a social man. He says it the way it is, the way he feels the emes. It's enough. So the Mendel Wechter told him, I'll tell you the truth. You want to know the truth? I'll tell you the truth where everybody is. I came into 770 from a back door. In other words, I started learning Chassidus. I like Chassidus. And I needed to have somebody to teach me, so somebody set me up with Rabbi Yoel. I learned privately with Nachman Shapiro, with him. And then I came to Farbrengen from the back door, and Chaim Shalom, and Halberstam's room over there. He says most other people who came to Lubavitch came from the front. And they saw what's going on there in the front. They turned around before they had a chance to walk in, and they left. If none of you remember it, 770 didn't have this gallery that they have now for the women, going upstairs with the ramp. There was no side entrance. Both entrances, the men and the women were all from the same side.
With steps going down, or how was it?
A little bit, not the same, but it was somewhat.
Where was the Bible shul? It was on
the same place, but the door was from going from
upstairs.
So I don't know where. But Lepoil.
They exited it onto the same place.
They exited the same place, and so gestanden, als wir Björn vielleicht sagen, bei Chule vegan. Standen zusammen, so wie tun leben.
Every Shabbos it was like that?
No.
So interesting. The Rebbe told the shliach in the Bronx if to make a school.
Like 2 cents.
So the school is different, whatever. Separate entrances. Boys and girls should be separate entrances.
Yeah, of course.
Different directions.
Interesting. So they can Aliyah.
They give an Aliyah, yeah. Is a kaponim, so the man Lechter told him. People who just are naive, who just come for the first time, they just run away, they don't want to have anything to do. No, he got a chelik from his home. Kluger von dem, du verstehst besser. Der Rebbe halten sich gut, und diese Gebühren sind gut. He gave him a chelik. So the Mendel told him, kannst schreien, wie viel du willst. I didn't tell you what's wrong. You asked me a shayla. I could have given you a false answer or the truth. Which one do you want? I can give you a different answer. That's the answer. I understand my chaveda.
Well, he could still give him a chela.
So you said, he asked me a question. I'm telling you, I heard from all chaveda, but they don't want to come here. Whatever. It's me as the this, whatever. She went to Israel, checked out, and came back to take the family. When she came back, she got a chelik from Reb Zalman Gerari. A chelik was daf to sein. She said, you don't know how Lubavitch runs. We don't go to Maser to the Rebbe. We don't write letters to the Rebbe. He says, why did you have to write to the Rebbe what we spoke?
Who's we?
Huh?
Who's we?
Her husband with Reb Zalman. Why you Maser to the Rebbe? Kinderspiel. Spielt sich in Cheder. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I never spoke to the Rebbe anything. It's Ken Zayn, it's a sheker. He gave it a chelik. You can take out, you look it up later if you have time. Some 3/4 are risky, it's a Shabbos di Pesich, it's not on tape. Parshas Lech Lecha, Daf Shemam Gimel, the Rebbe gave a big chelik for the Eila. The Rebbe said, everything that goes on over here is under my name. Das Teugnish, it's my fault. If this Teugnish is my fault, it's everything, The Rebbe was always very upset why the Rabbanim Teugnish, So Zalman Gerari das gehört, het verstanden sicher that she went and told over the Rebbe.
So you have the chutz thing that I would never bring
about the Nyan Bechlal, maybe about building also. So Zalman went that Sunday, next Sunday, he put down the money and they started making the whole thing. It was a week later. He used this story I heard from Mrs. Wechter. So I told her over to Bachanim in Yeshiva. So they went to dig. They looked up the Sichas and they said it's there. It's usually boiler cloth. The Shabbos the Gesicht.
I was in the Eil school.
Yeah.
His son taught me
So
the Eil.
So when you ask me,
The Avon of the whole story that the Scarari guy had a look for the thing that doesn't have a look. That's all we can know is to me that was a little Navarai.
That was Das Tachten, whatever. Das Tachten, he figured the something again, was stomach gemassert.
Das Tachten. You can't believe it.
Yeah. But the mice is I remember when I became Lubavitch, when the Chazon Kanom, I was a Iber Chacham, given in 770, he wanted to chap me a lot. So He used to come chepping me every time when I came.
Where
to
is he now?
770. He lives in Crown Heights still. Yeah, he's still alive.
Now is it down?
He used to come and chepping me every time. Satmarov used to say a Kol Nidre Drasha. Before Kol Nidre, he used to say a Drasha. And he would mourn Musa, verschiedene Sachen. He would mourn Tshuvaton, and his main thing was about the women, about sneeze. That was by the Ungarish very strong.
Oh yeah, every year?
Maybe not every year the same Nekuda, but
Yeah, I'm saying that was the Nissan.
yeah, the Nusach was all about this, Tshuvaton.
Throughout the Medina
That also. But
I work
so he would
in
speak-
Monroe, so they always say it. So I try to find out what the sikha was about.
Huh?
So I'm gonna find out after Pesach.
Yeah.
They tell me sometimes.
They don't hear what they ever said.
Honestly.
No, they hear.
So Satmarov,
They talk about it. They talk about it. Yeah.
so Satmarov would cry
No.
before Kol Nidre. Geweint and geweint, but the dinner shrimp, but the thin sackings. Man hätte so der Rebbe redt, man geht mit Kleider, das ist gemacht von Glas. Das ist sicher, sicher. Das ist gemacht von Glas, man schwitzt es sieht für unsere Rebbe, ja. Aber das ist Strimpung, aber Stackings. Das heißt, man geht dahin in Modders, man geht mit Kleider, was gemacht von Glas, wo das Achilles in der Stoff, da ich mir gewiss. Gut. Sag mal, you get into details. And he would say, yes, number 70 is not enough, at least 60 or 70, whatever the denier, whatever it is. So this guy, whenever I'd step into 770, who had Azah Nachas to cheppen me. Nu wachen das dünne Strimp, wir sind in der Drosche der Woche, wir sind in der Strimp. And he stech me. Till 1 year, aber gelernt das sicher forever.
It bothered you that he said?
I wasn't the Babish already, but...
Well, the thing it bothered you, it hurt you that he said?
I don't remember. He wanted at least to bother me, but he did waste it.
No, I'm saying that's so strong. You make sure you should know that it bothers you so you can get enough from it.
Well, 1 year, I learned the Sikh of the Rebbe. You know, I wasn't bucking all the Sikhs in the beginning. I learned the Sikh of the Rebbe. Why do we learn Pashas Achrei, Yom Kippur, afternoon? The Aroyas. The Rebbe says, well, we can kriechen in Himmel, we can sein Yom Kippur, and we can sein alle Chamisha Darges von der Neshama, in Himmel. In Lepoel Mamish can man halten bei Aroyas. Yom Kippur allein noch Mittag, darf man reden wegen Pashat Aroyas. Nicht in der Strimp, sondern wegen Aroyas Mamish. So that's when, you know, that's a schweig. Let them reden sichers. It's Emma's Vyatze, beim Reben ist Koidem da, von der Darges in der Shamas, ist da Ziele der Sache, aber es kommt darüber, Poel Mamish, aber das ist nicht nur, es hebt sich nicht an, das drin.
Poel Chapman Zurich, das sagst du. Poel Chapman Zurich.
Weißt du, ich frage alle mal so, I never heard this word outside of Lubavitch. Very simple word. Hamaisa hu ha'ikir. The only one who says, Hasa Mishnah, but the one who kochs it 1,000,000 times over is who?
On 306 they have it, I think.
Yeah? Where by
the Wien Yeshiva, the Wien Shul.
Yeah? Hamaisa ha'ikir?
I think so.
Interesting.
There's a lot of things that are getting out there.
That's true, but only by uns haben wir gekocht. Der Rebbe gekocht von Meister.
Tefillin has gone crazy everywhere. People are doing tefillin everywhere.
What?
You have to learn also. He said, no, Meister
What?
Become
He
very
said.
ubiquitous.
No, that what?
He became Chabad. He's telling me, Meister I said, but it's true. We have to learn also. That he doesn't understand.
You ever walk in the street and Israel is uncomfortable?
Yeshiva, the Meister is it.
But what's the pshat? What's the pshat from the Meister? You know what the pshat is? The post pshat.
Right.
In Satmar, you never hear the word of Meister. Never.
All they talk about is
So the step is anders than not Meister. Just a Meister. There's no discussion about don't do something with blitas.
But Hamaisa
don't patch extra. Mach sicher, the Meister is in Shemaim in Ganz no blitas. Other rabbis, what's the matter with?
Hamaisa Iker is.
So, but Norwegen, any achlot it's about is always either another shear, another shorter shetel. Everything is about Lamaisa Bepoil. It's all I have. Man lernt das einfach Chassidus, das einfach tiefe Sachen. In einer Nosse Malke, man flieht in den Himmel und ich weiß was, darf man einmal ausspielen, okay, alles sehr fein. Aber das Wissen, Poil, Mamisch, am Reben, ich bin beide Sachen, allemal. Die tiefste in Meister Bepoil. Meister der Poel. Die Sachen gehen zusammen. Wir kennen schon eins an dem Zweiten, weil eins an dem Zweiten ist nicht an Nonnas und Malka. Der Eibster ist nur die Mitzvahs. Das ist der Eibster.
So I'm asking you a theoretical question. If you go on with sign, where you ask you to put on phone. Yeah.
That's not theoretical.
And he, well, let me finish. When you finish, you'll finish then. So, let's say, I meet this Russian guy in Costco.
Yeah.
Being on samples. Yes, I'm McLaughlin. Yeah, I'm all excited. He calls me up an hour later, and then let's say 5 o'clock. My wife doesn't feel comfortable for right now, please, whatever. So I didn't put on film with him. So, am I so icky? Did I do something, or just it's not? Since I didn't actually put on film. It's a waste of time.
Get the kasha. Not a waste of time. The way the Rebbe explains, Mamashma. I think the Rebbe quotes a Chavez Das in this. But the Gemara says, Mevatlon Talmud Lemikra Megillah. Achmas Skala Lemikra Megillah. Frag the Rebbe Bishleim, I think it's a Chavez Das. Rebbe Chazal. Bishleim, Achmas Skala. You're going to dance, you're going to do everything. But Mikra Megillah is the Torah. So instead of learning, you learn the Megillah now. The Rebbe Masber, so the Chavez Das is Masber, the Rebbe is Masber, what's the name? As because when you have an ability to learn Be'iyun, so you're going to learn, you're going to use all your chushim to read Megillah. Instead, you go and read a story. For now, that's called the Torah. Now, was then? Also, the mitzvah. Jetzt darf sein Mikra Megillah. So, warten Talmud Torah. The Rebbe bringt that is because I need to raise the Shamash Shkoini. Every vestige of me, every nekuda is all about Avodas Hashem. If I could learn with 5 chushim and I learned only with 4 chushim, I did a good thing, but 1 chush was missing out. But I'm never going to pat yourself on the shoulder. This can't do nothing. So, if you try to be convincing somebody, to walk away that I did nothing, be the worst thing in the world. Be depressed, I don't try again.
I'm not depressed, I'm just wondering.
I don't try again. No, you did 4 chushim, whatever you need to do. But did you finish? No, you didn't. So you have to try again. To say that I'm happy. Oh, I did what I did. Fine. No. It's nicht ausgeführt. Aber es ist so ekel. Aber es ist nicht mehr warten, die ganze Arbeit. So da Arbeit von der Barbier.
Shabbos comes become the mikvah ladies.
No, not that. Pasha, your avoid of doing what you did what you did. You did what you tried your best. And that's what you needed to do.
I know this guy is square, this Bakri grew up square in Chabad. He puts on, I don't know how he puts on something. He just posted now, guys. Put on like 26 people. Wherever he goes, they give him a hit from time to month. He don't stop on this corner, let's put on someone 2 years.
That's him.
I'll pay you for it.
The word of Lo Yalecham Lo Chaligmer, is telling you the Efshes Nishda Pesandish.
Efshes was?
Who are you to decide that there's something beyond this very moment in what you're doing?
Also, who says there's a Gemar? Who says there's a?
We're saying the same thing here. You decided that because there's a story that he said to tell us that his daughter became the mikvah lady with it. So in our minds we created a story.
Every story has to finish that way.
It never finishes.
He says the story right now is that you should do dust. The Gedanke was those Bachrim have no idea what they did. Right. Their story ended when they asked a 3-year-old girl to light Shabbos candles. They're done. What happened after that had nothing to do with them. Everything and nothing to do with them.
You have to correct me because I don't remember the details. Some of you will know the Sikha. There's a Sikha of the Rebbe, and there's 2 stories, and I mixed them up. I don't remember exactly the details. With the Chafetz Chaim and the Rebbe Rashab. The Meisters given a Gzeire, and they went, and they didn't poil. I think the Rebbe said that the Chafetz Chaim asked them, I remember the Rebbe Shrine, Gechalisht Hatir! Gechalisht Hatir! In andere Werte, they said, we tried our best, and we couldn't. He said, no, you didn't try your best. If you didn't chalish in front of the judge or whatever, then you didn't.
Back for the free sample.
But then there's, I think the Rebbe said the Rebbe Rashab sent some shlichim and they came back and they said at least we tried the best we could. And the Rebbe Rashab explained and they said, Rebbe, well, you did the best. He said, aber der Indien hat sich nicht durchgezogen. Aber der Indien hat sich nicht durchgezogen. So there's zwei Sachen.
It's emotionally hard.
Your Gan Eden is dort, and Gan Eden is girl bis in Himmel. Aber ob sie nicht gehen, der Ärzte.
What's Gan Eden? We wanna do what we need to do. That's it.
No. Think of it.
Gan Eden means you don't have a Hebrew. That's what I mean.
Think for a moment. A person has his own son who needs redemption from something. There's a shidduch who needs to get out from a court case or whatever. Yeah, and you tried everything in the world. You did unbelievable things. At the end, if you were not matzliach, it's clear you did nothing. Why? It's your child. It's your child. You didn't do it because anybody asked you to do it. You didn't do it but the Rebbe told you to do it. It's your child. And it didn't help. The Wegeschrei is unbelievable. Wie ist es da Fremder asken? And er da of to get brownie points. Of er is an ehrlicher. I meint Emelsdik. And he worked tirelessly for 7 weeks. He didn't sleep at nights. He didn't be with his family. And it shows gefiert. How does he feel? Does he feel the same as a father? No. At least, I did the best that I could. Heißt es, aber der Ätzemin ist nicht ein Geher. Getan alles zu kennen, aber der Ätzemin ist nicht ein Geher. So da beide in Jan. Man darf tun, weil der Rebbe heißt tun, weil der Rebbe streicht tun. Noch damit da, was die Sache allein darf anreden, dem Rebbe mir hier tun, er hat nicht gleich Kontrollen.
Yeah, but it's very hard to live that way. Every moment, somebody will not feeling until you really cared, you have what happened to you, emotionally, psychologically? That's why we're Jacobson for that.
What if we're just a little cog in a big machine? A little cog in a little big machine. We don't understand what. Just because we think that a yid should do a specific thing doesn't mean that that's what has to be done.
You just mentioned something. Maybe you should be. I don't know.
I also think it has nothing to do with the other person.
Oh, you're not worried? Okay.
Are you not playing thrill?
What's your job?
Yeah.
Throw something out and say something. I'm just
Try to get him to do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Or to get him to do it.
I don't want you to get a heart attack right
him
now.
Him doing it really has nothing to do with what you need to do.
We made up the good.
So you can ask, how's that possible? Well, that's
for the fifth time.
Now I see why. It
doesn't make sense. It's not. We have a way to.
Friend, is any more questions?
This action must result in a certain
I
reaction.
didn't get his answer.
Yeah, and that's the fallacy.
You must. So you must have an action.
There's 4 questions.
The reaction is not the out of your action. Never. The same thing when.
So what he's saying is that we're dealing with an emergency that if the Indian upon tefillin, the kid is still in jail.
Alle seine Evarim sollen zurückwachsen.
Amen. So he used to go. Sorry, a guy lives on my block. A Russian couple. They're fine mensch. They have a son who became from, and they're close to Yiddishkeit Avarim, but they're not from. Yeah. He used to go to them every Friday and bring him stuff, but he wouldn't put on film. It was a big pella because he wanted to. 1 week he came in and he said, "Okay, today you could put on film." He was amazed. He said, "What's going on? What happened?" So he said, he was born in Russia, never had a bris. In his mind, he was embarrassed to talk about it. Never told him anything, and he was very scared to be getting a bris. He was in his 50s. Very scared. So finally he says, I found an Orthodox doctor who was a famous urologist that I trusted. And he says, this week I had a bris. Put me on film.
Wow.
So do we know why the person didn't do it? There was the biggest mitzvah. In his mind, he was like, the waste.
I had a very funny story over here in Shul. Benzin is gonna.
Oh, don't say the name. Don't say it. No embarrassing.
There's no embarrassing. Our mikvah guy, the guy that cleans our towels and mikvah.
There's a mikvah here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shed.
We'll dip you in right
check
now.
it out.
Oh, the one I just saw with the plastic around?
No, behind it.
And what is that with the plastic around?
No, our mikvah takes out creases in the pants.
The mikvah, it's actually nice. 5 in the morning.
Something tough save, no?
So for two plus years, we've been trying our laundromat. Eric, has been doing our mikvah towels. Benzin introduced us, and we've been trying every week. He comes in here for a check.
You ask him every
services.
week? You ask him every week?
Pretty much. Whenever he came into shul, we asked him.
Oh.
But bis nach Polischem darf geben the hand.
Yeah.
You see, when Yossi was giving high five,
he wants your neshama.
I didn't know you asked every week.
Oh, you want to hug me now or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so come over the table, make a cooler right over there.
Holy hug him.
And then I'll pick you up in the end of the night.
No, say.
Yeah, it's coming.
So Eric, Vachos, like every second week he comes in, he's sitting here, and he comes in. You have a check for me? Yeah, sure. Eric, do you have time to put on the phone? Oh, I'm in a rush. I'm okay, fine.
Busiest man ever.
Yeah. It happens to be Mamish a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Some people say it. You know what? I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna say it as it is. A week before I met Hassan, and this guy walks in, and he asked me to move my truck. It's in his way to back in to pick up the towel. And I tell him, sure, I'm gonna move it, but do you have time to put on film? All of a sudden, yes.
When? Today?
No, the day before I made chasana for my kids. So people put it together. I don't know why they put it together for this. I'm just saying the story as it is. Probably has nothing to do with one another, but this is the story.
Maybe it does.
I said
no,
maybe.
but that answers your question. If you asked somebody and he says no, so you asked him how many weeks, how many times before he said he got a yes?
2 years we got no's.
Yeah, this is the guy that's coming for you.
The day before
he walks in,
he didn't stop asking.
All of a sudden, he forgot that my truck is in his way, and all of a sudden, he says yes. He put on film. Then one of the guys over here asks him, "Did you ever put on film in your life? Did you have a bar mitzvah?" He has no clue. It's like this was, so we make a simit of mouth of him.
Wow.
Hi.
Does he have matzah for Pesach?
I have no clue. I should ask him.
You should give him.
The fact that
Levi was right here.
The fact that Rabbi Ganz is here tonight is because of Benzin. So I don't want to take away the mitzvah from you.
Because of me. He chose to come. I didn't do anything.
We are partners. We have a love-hate relationship.
Especially now that
we kill each other like cats and dogs. No, I'm the one, the cat and the dog, and you are the one getting killed.
By the way, you didn't have to explain it. I copied already who it was.
So wait, you love when people put film on, you hate when people don't. But the love hate.
No.
No, Yossi's different.
Is a love relationship.
Yeah, Yossi loves to hate. You love to hate.
I hate to love. Or love to hate. I don't know, whatever you want to
say. Just thinking to say l'chaim?
I'll hate, but I'll love.
Hate, I love.
You're saying the reason why the Rebbe didn't speak, I'm going back to the story about the pipe and everything. You're saying the reason the Rebbe didn't speak about it too much, I was just there for Chabad. It's not because the Rebbe didn't. In Chabad, we don't do such things. In Chabad, things are important.
In Chabad, we don't do such things.
How did
after the Maisa with the Rebbe heard the conversation, that's when they changed this from 770?
That's what I heard from Mrs. That's what Rabbi Gorali understood in the Sikha. I don't know. What that meant?
Rabbi Ganz?
What's Rabbi Vechter's son's name? Reuven Yosef? Reuven Yosef is Rabbi Vechter's son? No. What's his name? Nassim. He was a teacher in he was a rabbi in Toronto, and then he came to the oil for a year. I was in his class. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When Rabbi Vechter was kind of like almost killed, how did that affect this whole group of Talmidim that were attracted to his teachings?
Became even stronger.
Did it affect you at all? Or did they hound you? Did they?
Oh yeah.
They smashed windows. Rabbi Vechter told us. Rabbi Vechter told us as a kid, in his house, he was scared. They were smashing windows.
I had to run away from him.
You had to run away? What did your parents say? What did you expect?
They didn't say l'chaim.
They said come down. Some of my people that they don't ask questions. They're saying the beginning of the Farbrengen, they were saying you have to know that the money and everything comes from the Shana from Azolis. That's a famous question asked years ago. You see, if you go according to Teva, he makes money. Someone who does the Rebbe Shlich, it's not always. It's always like Rabbi Grunblatt from the head Shliach said on one of the videos that they made. It's not always so easy. It's very hard to make the fundraise. So how do you explain that? He's davening, he's learning Chitas Ram, he's doing everything. An non-Nosiv Malka, and how come he doesn't have
Why do you coming to conclusions of what things need to be? You decided that it's supposed to be.
That every year that's how it is the Gashmis.
You want me to give you a literature answer? Or?
Once someone's Aisha, then he could even medayik about it.
Really, he was supposed to be an Ani Meducha. And this is his Ashiris.
By Farbrengen, that's what you're saying?
Your question is more Mavel than anything. Why are you asking questions? If you want to give answers, give somebody a bracha, you should be an Oisha Begashmis. Instead, you're asking kashas.
I know all this and happens up to now.
When they say no for 2.5 years, they do it.
That's it. They are getting in anyhow. Did you learn the whole?
Also. 2.5 years. You said no. 2.5 years. 4 hours early, man.
That's what I was studying in 1974.
Learn!
I mean,
L'chaim.
Du da?
Ja, jeden Tag kommt er.
1974.
Allemaal
Nissan.
In the time? Wow.
Not when you are like in Oilam Haza.
The Ramester on the kasha that you asked, that's asked the Mashpia.
Oh, who's the Mashpia?
Kohen HaGadol.
In the Maimer.
Kohen HaGadol.
In the Maimer. The Maimer from Yemashti Yosef, the Rebbe goes through first, the Bechayro, they have many given, the Duchsen, the Iflichen, das ist over die Chava Mazal. And the Pikach versteht, dass nicht mehr wie Agaz und Biadach ist. That the Shemesh can do nothing, the Reich can do nothing. But then the Rebbe schluckt us up. Because in the Moshel, the Emmes, the Taka have Bechira.
I think we won't run into each other.
Yeah. Is
okay.
Is we mele brengt uns der Rebbe als was, als noch ein Name, wir kennen ja halt Mashiach. Na was denn, wenn ich interessiert in das Sport. Als was, als no so Malki, wat ich da dem Ebstem, noch ein Name als Sport, kann man mehr haben, Befehle, schon Klippe. En nou dan hebben we nooit omgeving berust. Maar we zouden dus kasteren zu dem, wat der Rebbe zu dir gesagt.
I know the answer too well. Gashmis Elhaza, so Mal da bei Station Lamata Mata and Mela.
Beter.
Denk je dat steeds wat er What?
Satzman.
Ja? I hope not.
Ich weiß sicher,
No, in andere Worten,
nicht
der erste Kasse. Nicht einmal, koidem sagt man aber, dass Schemisch wie Reach kann gar nicht stehen. Der Geist ist wie an der Grenze. Ja? Das ist nur der Ebste. Aber mit einmal, man hebt dann nicht wegen Klippe, man redt wegen, ist es da so eine Sache, wir sollen mal beginnen, sie können geben, was geben sie? Möglich beruhig, because I give them chayas and they give me. Es kann so nicht weiter. So was ist das?
Ich meine, das ist damit zu sehen. Ja, sag, was du kannst bekommen. In deinem Welt.
Was meint das?
Du kannst zugehen zur Klippe.
Ja.
Verstehst du? Klippe ist nicht akkord. Der MS von Klippe weiß, noch der ist das heute ganz Million und der ist aber der ist das wahrscheinlich. Beside der Mensch ist da Sachen, du kannst zugehen zur gleichen Klippe. Bekommen eine Ribe sparen, nicht so viel.
Sie gehen mir nach Hause zurück.
Aber sie gehen mir nach Hause, aber sie können gehen. Ja?
Das ist sicher. War mit das gegangen. Das heißt, dass man redt nicht wegen dem. Man redt wegen der Leben von den Menschen, oder? Ja, redt jetzt wegen der Leben von den Menschen. Man redt wegen von der anderen Seite, nicht?
Man redt von dir. Also was das? Also von dort was du doch eingerät hat, du kannst bekommen, heißt das. Der Loschen am Maim ist nicht
Nee, du kannst bekommen.
Wieso?
Ja, so.
Sie gehen mir nach Hause zurück.
Ja?
Ich halte keinen von der Seite.
Ich weiß, du bist Deutsch.
Was?
Ich weiß, du bist Deutsch. Du hast ein bisschen sündig, ich verstehe. Aber der Steine doch, als ich doch kann beginnen, wie kann Klippe geben?
I can. You show. They bestellt wahrscheinlich. Das soll ich sagen.
Ja, why? Das nach Gas mir nach Hause.
Das ist ja Gas mit heute. Ich gehe von Gas mit heute. Das ist das. Das ist ja.
Andere Werte, das ist auch hellig von Gas mit heute. Ein Mensch hat da beginnen. So dann verschiedene Jahre.
Direct answer.
Wow.
Because Alton, right, the Rebbe was teaching. He was teaching in our Keda.
No, the first answer the Meiler is speaking about. Okay, the first answer is speaking about the second answer is speaking about
the beginning.
Yeah.
I asked the Rebbe. It sounds like it came from one of the Talmudim. I don't know exactly what the answer. Wie ist das möglich, als Jitzel kommen?
Ja, listen to the story behind it.
Als Jitzel kommen, Chais und Klippes. Jetzt Chais ist doch die Dusche. The Rebbe writes them, Al Derech. The Rebbe's Medaik in the words, Chayusoi. You're not getting Chayes from Klippe. Du bekommst dein Chayes von Klippe. Al Derech, du bekommst dein Chayes durch Parnassa. In Gashmis, Al Derech, durch the Ein Sarah. The Klippus is just there. It's your the highest of Kedusha of a Yid.
Geht da durch.
Geht da durch, yeah. So the whole, that's the whole discussion.
That's a very sharp word.
Huh?
That's not Pashut Pshat.
It is Pashut. I'm saying it is Pashut Pshat. We don't have. There's no such thing as Chayes of the Yid that's not from Kedusha. It's not really related. Chayes got stuck in the clothes. I'm not saying it answers
Der Ganz, steht ja hier, sag mal, he comes here for already a few months. He tells me, I see him every morning almost. The fact that he's here tonight is that someone made an announcement today that it's going to be a place tonight. 12 hours later, he shows up.
Hello.
So it's a bubble of, and I never had this conversation with him. I have seen him many times here. But he tells me the fact that he comes here is because of the Rebbe.
He's not saying something bad.
You say, you know what? You say it yourself.
Ich schäme mich ein bisschen.
Okay.
Jetzt, fragt man hier vorhin, ich sage vorhin auf
I thought he lived around the corner, he comes
Where's
here.
Cedar Lane?
Exactly. Doesn't matter, it's a long drive.
Not 50 minutes. 50 minutes?
Yeah, good 30 minutes. Without any
I mean, this is the only shul within that drive area.
Was ist denn eine Verglitznitz? Ich kann gut sagen, ich kann something in it. We have about to seen down for the well, shield is kind of ranking was comfort down in the heaters and can down on the middle. Can down on the chatzas, kind of keep the shot the down and no, it's the rest of the side this is gonna put the space down and I think about the evergreen cleaners. We can't get back to the shield. First time we go to shield. Think about the evergreen cleaners. We got that much access to them. So Google, it's a lot of things is a shield there shield. But here look now, it's like I don't know if it's good or it's and the government on the casino with the life on the shield. Wow. This is out from the so since then we can get down on so that's and it's do kind of look like a scarlet and a shine.
Negative.
Do the same thing.
Oh, yes, also to him you don't do negative. To me you treat me like shit.
That's
like I go to the
more than you could ever imagine.
Bring it up.
You deserve it.
Well, I would like to.
I'm not ashamed.
This is time on the wall.
Regular shul, not look at this.
Look back as a gegen Shield, weißt du nicht, so wie ich aber nur ganz zu sagen, nicht der Shield, like when it comes to Cedar, it's a 50-minute drive, so like unique Shield.
The fact that he shows up on the Rebbe's birthday 12 hours later than he usually shows up because he heard somebody yakking about sushi today, whether it's going to be sushi or not, that he showed up, it shows a connection to the Rebbe. The Rebbe knows how to invite people. Let's put it this way.
The fact that I showed up tonight,
this person,
good.
and verbringt da ganze Nacht. Alle kicken him on, wie größte mal spielen und alles. And he is. I'm not putting him down.
Ich kann nicht meinen,
No, that's good to ship in that man. We have Aron, Dovid, Ganz, is aufgewachsen, Satmer Chassid.
A lot of people believe in this stuff. More and more and more.
This is what the man was talking about.
He got invited to Lubavitch.
You were Satmer, because because of Chabad.
Yeah, you don't have to believe it. You can walk like this square.
How is that different to...
I also didn't start in Pomona. I didn't start in Pomona.
No, understand, but how's that different to heron? That's heron becomes the Abishah. That's heron becomes the Abishah. This is a little bit different. It's 10 that they are saying. I mean, it's not this immediately saying that the psychedelics take over control of the life of they're of God. And heroin is the most addictive out of everything. It's just a control. Here it's more than a control, it's an inspiration.
There's an inspiration, there's a message, there's a spiritual
Showing up, it says to Shachlis. With a minion.
What's your name? Why don't you sit down for a minute? Here's some
He's standing and saying the story. What do you want?
Listen to a word. Listen to a word.
Yeah, 100%.
You know the story. Listen to me. You don't know. Can you just be quiet for a second? You'll hear it later. Rabbi Ganz.
I have a certain designer who did it. But it doesn't say. It's out to your subconscious and tells you, I'm sure I'm going
Yossi.
No, she doesn't understand.
Don't give him a
Expensive, someone never learned.
Give him a
Someone never had a spiritual experience.
Around her.
It's your first.
Give him a
Someone's coming from Baba bells or anywhere.
That's not what the Chaim is.
Sure.
She thinks she's the son.
She sees it.
Here, this is a king cup.
Nobody really knows. Nobody knows what it is. I didn't give.
Good.
I didn't give myself.
Finally.
I didn't do that.
We can have a king one for you.
Most people don't do that. Especially if you're at the ground. And don't have higher spiritual but it's not practice.
Vision's not real.
They won't even look at the paperwork. And then it's like there's the other part, which is people start off, but then 2 days later they go do it somewhere else and then it's all over. So that safety doesn't last. Once you're in it, you're in it. So.
His daughter had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with sheep, rest and Sunday. Then comes back around the next week.
If it was honest.
You think we're gonna
What did he say? What did he think?
take care of
I'm gonna tell everybody in
Buzzy
town.
or
What did he say? Nobody's ever gonna use him.
Alright, Michael, that's all keep another here and you're in.
I just signed up for the last day. Rachel just signed me up for the last day. He asked me.
Yeah. And they're getting exactly what they want.
It's the whole young thing.
A certain influence, a result, and they manage to go into it like the laser and the short-sightedness is so blinding.
You want to come to my house?
Not only did she not get what she wanted in the short term, she lost 10 times more what she could ever. But at the moment that she threatened, the moment that she everybody, these give them all look, but that's 10 cents.
Once in a while.
Every bechol is answering the question.
I have a 5-year-old boy.
To go through this way, that the other. Yeah, what do you get? What do you get? She was going for a certain something. At the moment that she did it, she thought she was going for a feeling. You want to call it whatever it was. She got what she was.
Boy is 5.
Yeah.
No, I have a 9-year-old boy.
Okay. You have a
what's the response from
the base or get together?
Even the Gilui of the
You're most of what we said before, right? You know the president.
What are you going to tell you then?
For 20 years, you made millions of dollars. You sold off with condo after condo after condo.
That's the same, man.